on Fridays by Adam, aka Shit My Money, aka Shit My Router DFS. Adam, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Back at the apartment, so shouldn't have any internet issues. So I'm not that I was having them when I was visiting my mom either, but definitely shouldn't have any here, knock on wood. So that should be good at least.
Okay, that's good to hear. So no router necessary. Anyway, of course, every minute counts going up to lock, so that it's always stressful to not have that internet connection locked down. Tonight we got a pretty big slate, 10 games, and also some news that could come pretty late that I think could make a big difference. So, Adam, what are the big pieces of news that you're personally keeping an eye open for?
Yes, I mean Sacramento just kind of looks like a mess entirely right now. You have Marvin Bagley and Bielitsa both questionable. That obviously has an impact because Rashawn Holmes is either doubtful or out. Indiana, you have Q tags on Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis. Bradley Beal still questionable for the Wizards, which obviously has a huge trickle down effect to the entire team. And then Anthony Davis had been the big piece. He was ruled out about 30 or 40 minutes ago. So I think the big pieces we're still waiting on are the Kings, Beal, and the two Pacers.
Yes, I think those are going to make some big differences. Obviously, I think AD is the injury of the night. Why don't we just jump into that game first? Because I think it'll be a great game for basketball. Lakers at Dallas. Dallas is actually a 2.5 point favorite now that AD's out. Um, I gotta think this means that LeBron James is in a great spot, and then maybe we see a lot of JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard minutes. Are these guys kind of sticking out as core plays for you tonight?
Yeah, I think that LeBron's in a good spot, like you said. It's not that it's a great matchup against Dallas on its own because Dallas, isn't a particularly fast team. They're not bad defensively, but you just get a bump in fantasy production for LeBron when Davis isn't on the floor. Obviously, he's up to about a 37% usage rate without him, 42% assist percentage. He's averaged about 1.55 DraftKings points per minute without Davis on the floor. So that all looks good for him. One thing that I do think is interesting is that on DraftKings, his price tag is actually up a bit, and he's only $100 less expensive than Giannis. So potentially that's a spot where you could pivot, just because I think that normally in situations like this where there's a key injury like Davis, you get a little bit higher ownership on the beneficiary like LeBron, and maybe somebody like Giannis goes a little bit overlooked. But I think LeBron does project as a good option. And then you should get 48 minutes center from JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. We've had two games this year where Davis sat. McGee played 28 minutes in the first game, 22 minutes in the second game. He's such a good player on a per minute basis that even if he gets 22 or 23 minutes here, he should be able to outperform a really cheap salary. If he gets more, then obviously he can become a necessity pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree. JaVale McGee is really standing out as a value play now. Obviously, center, difficult position to fill. But they've played Howard a couple more minutes a game than McGee, even though Howard comes off the bench. So do you expect that split to stay in favor of Howard?
Yeah, my guess is like 25 or 26 minutes for Howard, 22 or 23 for McGee. I think that with the DraftKings pricing, that still favors McGee because he's about $1,300 less expensive than Howard is. But I do expect that more often than not, Howard gets a couple more minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting that Howard is so priced up. On FanDuel, they're about the same price, so that makes it a little bit more balanced there. And then as far as peripheral pieces on the Lakers, we have Avery Bradley questionable. If he's out, would you take any shots on Contavious?
Probably not just because it's KCP, but like the minutes should be there. He was pretty slate, so getting $3,600 KCP, probably playing 30 or 32 minutes of Bradley set is okay, but definitely not something I'd be about.
Yeah, I think KCP really stands out because of his price of 3,600, but not a great fantasy player as as we know. Um, all right, going to the Dallas side because it's kind of the game of the night, but no one on Dallas is really standing out because Luka is this top dollar now, 12.6K on DraftKings, 11.4K on FanDuel. His usage has actually stayed kind of the same with Porzingis out, and the assists have gone down. Uh, what do you make of that? Do you expect Doncic to be even better with Porzingis out, or do you think that maybe we overestimated that effect?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because if you look at his numbers without Porzingis for the entire season, the assist percentage is up around 50%, the usage rate's up around 40%. If you just look over the 5 games he's played since Porzingis' injury, his assist percentage is down at 41%. The usage is still up around 39%, but compare like he's averaged 1.61 DraftKings points per minute since the injury, whereas for the season he's averaged 1.86 points per minute without Porzingis on the floor. I think that overall the answer is probably somewhere in the middle because normally when you take a really good player like Porzingis off the floor and it leaves you with a bunch of not very good players, your efficiency can take a hit and the assist percentage can take a hit too because you're passing to guys that aren't very good at converting those potential assists into actual baskets. So that's why you can see the production come down a little bit, the assists come down, but the opportunities will still be there. So over a bigger sample, I would expect him to be a little bit more productive than he has been since the injury, even if 1.86 points per minute is a little high.
Yeah, I think that we should see more production. I agree, but man, this price tag is pretty high. So definitely LeBron standing out a little bit to me. And then we saw Delon Wright start and play a bunch of minutes last game. JJ Barea, I believe, didn't play that game, but he is probable today. Do you think Barea joins the starting lineup, or do you have any read on that?
I don't really have a read on it because Rick Carlisle has been all over the place with his starting lineups pretty much any chance that he gets. But one thing I do think is worth pointing out is even if Wright gets the start, and like right now, for example, on DraftKings, we have him projected as like the 10th highest owned player on the slate. I think it's really important to point out that even though the minutes go up if he starts, his per minute production when he plays alongside Luka takes a really big hit, and pretty much all of his minutes in the last game came alongside Luka. It's not like they were being staggered or anything like that. He averages about 0.73 points per minute with Porzingis off and with Luka on. So I think that with the salary coming off to 4,900 on DraftKings, even if you're expecting like 28 minutes from him, it's not a particularly appealing option in a below average matchup against the Lakers, especially considering that he's getting ownership.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, if that's how high owned he's projected to be, man, I'm just not there at all. I think he's below average play because I mean, there's this uncertainty with the starting lineup. There's the minutes, the production on the court as well. So, and we've seen, as you said, like the starting lineup so hard to predict. Like this doesn't strike me as different than when Brunson was the chalk and then he played 10 minutes. So
right.
All right, so guys, we have one really special promotion going on today. This one is a Twitch promo regarding Super Draft. So to take advantage of this, go into Twitch, our stream, and type !Super Chat, and we will be awarding $500 of free money to one person who enters this little contest. So the contingencies here are you have to play a contest on Super Draft tonight. So if you don't have a account on Super Draft yet, I'm going to drop the link in Twitch here, and you can use that to sign up. So next game we got Washington and Atlanta. I mean, any team facing Atlanta gets a huge bump as far as productivity, and this is kind of interesting situation because Bradley Beal is questionable, and that's going to hugely decide what we're going to do here. So, do you have any read, first of all, whether Beal will play or not?
No, because he went through shoot around before the last game and then still didn't play. I could be wrong. I think he went through shoot around today also. So like my assumption would be that he plays, but the thing that makes it tough is that from a health standpoint, I think if the Wizards were a competitive team, he would have already been back. And since they're not a competitive team, his main emphasis is on making sure this isn't something he deals with the rest of the season. So it really just comes down to how cautious do they want to be? How much do they care about getting him out there, 1 or 2 games earlier? So I don't have a really good read on it. I think he at least is getting closer to being back.
Yeah, I have the unfortunate role of assigning the projections for the site. So I have to do something here. And what I did is because this is a 7 p.m. game, I just have him in now because if he basically, you're probably going to have to redo your lineups one way or the other. But if he's in, then a lot of the guys won't even be like really plays. But one guy that I really love if he's out is Jordan Mccray. He has had 28.6% usage over the last 15 games. That is insane for a guy who's 6,500 on DraftKings and 6,100 on FanDuel. The last game he went out and they got blown out, so he played like 15 minutes or something. It totally ruined my night. But would you go back to the wall?
Yeah, and I like it a little bit more here because like I was underweight on him in that game because he was, really popular and in a tough matchup against Orlando. And there were just, a bunch of other spots you could go to on the slate. But I like going back to guys like him. This was kind of the first game we'd really seen him disappoint without Beal out there. And now he gets to go from facing Orlando to facing Atlanta. There's no real reason to think that, he played 20 and a half minutes in that game. But for example, in the game against Boston on Monday, he played 38 or 39 minutes, and most games he's been playing 34, 35. So there's no real negative takeaway for me from his most recent game outside of the fact that he didn't play well and Washington didn't play well as a team. I don't see any reason to think that he doesn't get back over 30 minutes most likely and lead the team in usage and probably have a really good game. So I love going back to Mccray if Beal is out.
I agree. I think he'll be an amazing play if Beal's out. If Beal's in, would you play him?
I don't think so. Like if Beal's in at this point, I think that the team is pretty much priced correctly. You also have Davis Bertans who's back, potentially on some sort of minutes limit, but that's another guy that scores offensively, and you would be not even really close to full strength, but you would at least have a couple of very good NBA players out there alongside Mccray at that point.
So Bertans to me makes it more difficult to get to maybe Jan Mahimi or Pazniks. Do you expect Bertans to be playing mostly center or power forward here?
I expect most of his minutes to come at the 4. I still think that you get around 48 minutes from Mahimi and Pazniks, but I think that it really cuts into the Isak Bonga Admiral Schofield minutes. We had 36 minutes from Schofield and 32 minutes from Bonga against Orlando. I think those guys lose out on minutes as a result of Bertans being back and then also Mccray getting more minutes.
So I think this will be a spot. I mean, hopefully we'll get some news well in advance of the game, but maybe not. So on the other side, Washington is probably the best matchup in the league. So you got to love this game from a fantasy perspective. But the prices are pretty high tonight. John Collins, especially, is very expensive. Trae Young above 10K. So would you land on any of these guys given their price hike?
Young still looks really, really good. He's just playing huge minutes. And even though the price has gone up, I think it's well-deserved. He's been around the 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy for the season. In 4 games since coming back from his ankle injury, he's played 37 minutes twice. He's played 39 minutes twice. Now he's facing the worst defense in the league. They've been one of the least efficient pick and roll defenses as well, which isn't surprising. But Young leads the NBA in pick and roll possessions per game. He's in the 77th percentile in pick and roll efficiency. So from an overall team defense standpoint, it looks really good for him. And a play type standpoint, it looks really good for him. The minutes should be there. It should be a competitive game. I think right now it's a pick 'em with a 240 total. So there's really nothing for me to dislike about Trae Young, even though the salaries come up a bit. I think that Collins is okay. He's getting minutes at 5, which is appealing. It increases his rebounding numbers, but he is still expensive. He's probably playing 33, 34 minutes. So I think it's a good spot for him, but I prefer Young at his salary compared to Collins.
Yeah, I don't see myself ending up on Young tonight because of LeBron and some other guys that I think are exceptional. So I guess we have different opinions here. But one guy I'm looking at, or 2 guys that are more in affordable price range. First of all, Cam Reddish, he's 3,500 on DraftKings, 3,600 on FanDuel. We already got a starting lineup. He's in it. He was in foul trouble last game, so he didn't play that much. But I'm expecting maybe 27 minutes here. That'd put him in play, but not really a premier player. Would you take some shots on Reddish?
It's more of a price play here because the things I still don't like are, you mentioned he's not a great fantasy producer. Playing minutes next to Trae Young and John Collins doesn't leave a ton of usage, especially when, Kevin Huerter gets his share as well. And then you still just have a lot of interchangeable wing pieces. Like Atlanta's rotation hasn't been that consistent when it comes to these peripheral options. You have Reddish that can get minutes. You have Crabbe. You have Bembry. You have Brandon Goodwin that's in the rotation now. So it's not like Reddish is locked in the minutes unless he's playing really well, which doesn't happen all that often. It's just more of there's not a lot of good cheap value tonight, so I can see getting to him a little bit. It's not a priority for me.
Yeah, it's hard to be enthusiastic about him. And the last guy is Herter. He's averaged 36 minutes over the last 5 games. He actually gets a decent number of assists, 18% usage over that stretch, and he actually rebounds a decent amount. I have him projected for 5 rebounds. So is Herter landing in any of your rosters?
I'd say he's my third or fourth favorite option from Atlanta, behind obviously Young and Collins. I think that him and Alex Len are the two guys that I can see kind of getting to as like contrarian tournament options, because they're not the most appealing plays. They are facing the Wizards. They should be productive in their time on the floor. Herter's salary on DraftKings has gotten up to 6,100, which is pretty expensive, but he did play 37 minutes, over 37 minutes last game. So it's nice seeing how many minutes he's playing. I think that he's okay as a secondary option.
Nice. So we have 108 people on Twitch, so that makes your chances good if you want to get in on this $500 drawing here. Exclamation point super draft. Next game, Miami at Brooklyn. We got the news that Winslow is out this game, which is significant because we were expecting him to really hit on production and minutes of different guys. So Brooklyn has been pretty bad at D recently. So I'm landing on maybe Jimmy Butler, Bam, Kendrick Nunn, Robinson, Hero. These guys all priced pretty well. Is there one guy that is standing out to you?
I think Bam looks the best just because he plays so many minutes. He's really productive when he's out there. Brooklyn actually over the last month has allowed the most rebounds per game, which is nice for him. But also he contributes assists, he scores, and his price tag's pretty reasonable. On a slate where, specifically talking about DraftKings, there's a lot of, or the pricing is really, really tight. FanDuel, obviously, there's more values, more underpriced guys, but he kind of stands out as one of the more underpriced mid-range options, I think. But you also mentioned those guards, which I think really benefit from Winslow being out, because when Winslow is in, it makes it really hard to project those minutes between Nunn and Hero and Dragic and Butler. Whereas with him out, I think you can pretty safely expect somewhere around 28 minutes from Nunn and Dragic, and probably 25, 26 from Tyler Hero. They're all pretty cheap. I wouldn't want to play a bunch of them together, but I think that considering they're all pretty cheap, there's a pretty good chance that at least one of them comes through.
Nice. So I like the Heat's prospects tonight as well. So I think you can pretty much pick anyone on the team and have a pretty good shot at making a good lineup here. Brooklyn on the other side, Heat on the other hand, a tougher matchup. Karis LeVert is out this game. Or wait, no, he's playing. Garrett Temple and Wilson Chandler are out. So that is adding some maybe rotation minutes for some other guys like Karooks. But the only guy that's really jumping out at me is Spencer Dinwiddie, just a little bit cheap compared to his production. Are you on the Nets?
Pretty much the same boat for me. Dinwiddie's salary has come down, and it should be coming down with LeVert back, because as LeVert plays more minutes, you're going to get more minutes of Dinwiddie playing alongside LeVert, which takes some usage away, takes some assist opportunities away. But he still should be productive, and the salary dropped. So not a great matchup, but I think a pretty appealing salary for Dinwiddie. I'm expecting Karooks to start again. He's basically minimum salary. I don't think he's a high upside option in terms of raw points, but he's someone that I think you can consider just as a dirt cheap value on a slate where it's tough to come by. But Dinwiddie's the only one that I think looks particularly good.
I like it. Yeah, I think that while they bring off LeVert off the bench, it should bode well for Dinwiddie. He's had 34% usage over the last 15 games, which is really, really high for a guy who's in that 7K range. Next game, Indiana, Chicago. We got some news left to come on this one. I think it's an 8 p.m. game, so we won't know before lock. I'll start with Chicago. What we do know is Gafford is starting this game. He got this preemptive price hike, and man, he doesn't even do anything on the court anyway. Only a 10% defensive rebounding rate. Like I don't. Maybe there's some error in my spreadsheet here. What's the deal with Gafford?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird how quickly he got priced up, especially considering it's not a good matchup against Indiana. For the season, he's averaged 0.88 DraftKings points per minute, but you have to keep in mind too, whenever you're talking about someone like that, that most of those minutes have come off the bench. Some percentage of those minutes have come in garbage time where you're playing against basically G leaguers with other G leaguers on your team. So it's going to make him look better than he is from a production standpoint. And then, as I said, it's not an appealing matchup against Indiana. I don't think that I don't think it's very likely that you're getting, 34 or 36 minutes out of him either. I have him at about 26 minutes. I'm not really interested because of the price going up.
All right, so we just got the news we were waiting for. Bradley Beal's out. So the takeaways here, I didn't ask you about Isaiah Thomas. He's been someone that's really disappointed while Beal has been out, but a popular play among like the regular players on DraftKings and FanDuel. Are you going to take some shots on Isaiah Thomas with this news?
Yeah, I always do. It's one of those where I'm not telling you like, oh, play Isaiah Thomas, you're going to print money, because he's just like, he hasn't been playing fourth quarter minutes. They have more bodies now, as I mentioned, with Bertans being back, but at the same time, the usage is there for him, and he hasn't played well. He hasn't taken advantage of Beal being out, but the opportunities are there. He's facing the Hawks. He's 3,900 on DraftKings. If he goes out there and actually plays well, I think he would get more minutes. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to play him some, especially because he's been low owned most days. But it really has not been a fun experience.
Yeah, that's like a good way to sum it up. He's at his nadir in price, though. 3,900 on DraftKings. That's making him stand out. Ish Smith, also a good price. So you'd want to not have those guys in the same lineup, though. Jordan Mccray, probably a lock button play depending on the site. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely pretty close to it.
Okay, cool. So fortunate that we got that news at 5:30 instead of 6:30. So let's get back to Indiana Chicago game. So with Gafford being such a bad rebounder, I'm expecting Markkanen to see more boards and also more minutes because he is probably backing up the center position. You think that's a reasonable assumption?
Yeah, I think both are reasonable assumptions. I did give some minutes to Luke Cornett, but it wasn't enough. Like I still think you're getting probably around 14 minutes for Markkanen at the 5, which should help the rebounding numbers. Also gives him a bump in terms of minutes played.
All right, awesome. So he's standing out as a good mid-range play for me. What about the rest of the team? Anyone you're on?
Not really. Like I think Zach Lavine is okay. It's just not a matchup that I really like, but it is worth pointing out. He's just playing huge minutes. He has led the team in usage all season long. He picks up assists as well. Whereas most players on the team have pretty inconsistent rotations in terms of minutes played, Lavine is pretty much getting his consistently. So anytime you're getting around 37, 38 minutes from a guy in the low 8K price range, I think it's at least somewhat appealing in tournaments.
Nice. The other side, Indiana, we got a couple injuries to watch out for. This Sabonis thing is a head scratcher because he played 37 minutes in the last game. He was questionable. I'm just kind of writing this off because if I take Sabonis out, it's going to make Miles Turner look like an amazing play. And I don't have any confidence that Sabonis will be out. So how are you going to react to this news, assuming we don't have it before lock?
I'm assuming Sabonis plays. He's questionable with a sore left knee, which is the same thing he was questionable with prior to last game when he played huge minutes. And it's not even like he had subbed out of the game 2 games ago early with an injury. He played a bunch of minutes in that game, was really productive. So I think it's probably just them putting him on the injury report for no real reason. He tends to play through stuff. If he's scratched, he's scratched, but I'm assuming he's in.
Yeah, it's kind of some bogus reporting here because I was searching all afternoon for more information, but he's not really a play tonight, so I'm not worried about it. It just means that I won't have any Turner probably until we get this news. Brogdon is also questionable. That one's more of a 50-50, I would assume. So does that mean you're going to lay off Aaron Holiday and TJ McConnell?
Yeah, they said that they're hopeful Brogdon comes back, but I think that whenever you see guys come back from something like a back injury, it can be kind of touch and go because it really normally comes down to how they're feeling in warm-ups. Like sometimes they'll cramp up or tighten up, I should say. before warmups or whatever, after they go through warmups and then go back to the locker room. So it can be pretty tough to guess in advance. But I do think that Brogdon, he's only 5,800 on FanDuel, so that's a pretty good value if he plays. And you're going to get, I would assume, 28, 30 minutes out of him. But on DraftKings, he's priced up enough where I'm not really interested in him. And then McConnell and Holiday are priced up enough that I'm not really interested in them either way. So it's pretty easy to deal with on DraftKings.
All right, we just got a question in our premium Slack. Brian asks, is 100% Portis on FanDuel a bad idea? So we haven't gotten to that one, but this is our next game. New Orleans at the Knicks. Marcus Morris is out. We have Randall out. And the last game, Portis started at power forward. He played about 28 minutes, but it was not a game where they kept everyone in until the end. So I have him in for 30. He's 4,400. Do you think that you're going to lock him in on FanDuel?
I think he's the top center play on FanDuel. The one thing that I would point out that I think makes it's not that it's bad if you end up with 100% Portis, but the thing that you would want to keep in mind is that, like, right now we have basically half the field projected to have him in the lineup. And with FanDuel having the strict roster construction that it does, it's like you can obviously just pivot off him and you're contrarian just by doing that. The next highest owned center right now in our ownership projections is less than 10% owned. And there are still good options, whether it's in that price range, looking at a JaVale McGee, a little bit more expensive Mitchell Robinson, or going up to someone like a Gobert or, someone else. There are a lot of good center options. So I think that it's certainly reasonable to just be contrarian by going to different centers and hoping they outscore Bobby Portis. The opportunity cost is pretty high for him, but in terms of points per dollar, I think he's the best center option. And it's not like he has a low projection. I think he projects for 30, 31 points. So he's fine. It's just that's a spot you definitely could look to be contrarian.
Nice. So I think that I agree with your take. I mean, if you're not playing Portis, you're gonna want to play like someone that is much more expensive, probably just because you get a much different lineup with that. Mitchell Robinson on the same team, maybe a pivot. He didn't play a lot last game, but he's 5,400. He always gets in foul trouble, but the minute ceiling has to be higher with Randall out, right?
Yeah, you would think. I think Robinson's a pretty good bounce back play here. He had some ownership last time against Utah, only played, 22 minutes. Dealt with foul trouble, though. If you go in the popcorn machine, you can see where he was going to close the second quarter. He lost 5 minutes and 22 seconds when he picked up his second foul. So not saying that that's not going to happen again, but he was at least looking like he was going to play around 28 minutes. I think that if you get 28 minutes from him here against the Pels at only 5,400 on FanDuel, where you get extra, where blocks are worth more, and that's something that he really brings to the table, he could end up being a really, really good option at much lower ownership.
Yeah, I like it. I think that one of my favorite GPP players is because there's so much variance in the minutes, and that's really a good thing if he's low owned. Last game when he was a chalk, maybe not as good, but so Randall is the highest usage player on the team, I believe, and then Marcus Morris is second. So that's leaving a huge amount of usage. So I have RJ Barrett and Elfrid Payton really soaking this up, and that makes them really stand out as quality plays. Is that what you would expect to happen, or do you expect the usage to trickle out more evenly amongst everyone?
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. Without Morris and Randall on the floor this year, 24.8% usage for Payton, 28% for Barrett. Barrett's the third highest usage guy on the team as is. So taking Randall and Morris out, you would expect a lot of it to go to Barrett. He played about 27 and a half minutes against Utah, but that was a game that blew out pretty quickly, and he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. I would expect low to mid 30s from him here. It's a New Orleans team that's missing one of their best on-ball defenders in Jrue Holiday, so I would expect them to be a bit worse defensively. They play at a reasonably fast pace. Barrett's cheap. So all those things look really good. I expect him to be one of my higher owned guys today. And then Payton, I think, looks like a good option. It's just he's a bit more expensive than Barrett is, so I won't get to quite as much.
Just got a super chat from David Blackney, number 14 in the FD pick and roll last night. That's pretty nice, man. Thanks, David, for that. All right, New Orleans. We got Josh Hart starting for Jrue Holiday the past few games. his price has come up a bit, but on FanDuel he's 4,400. Is that someone you would look to?
Yeah, I think that's a really favorable salary on FanDuel. He played about 33 minutes last game. I would expect him to play in the low 30s most nights. He's not a high usage guy. You know, when he plays alongside Brandon Ingram without Drew this year, he has a 15% usage rate, but he contributes rebounds. He'll get some defensive stats, get out in transition, and have some success. And it's a bad New York defense. So I think Hart, just based on the minutes at that price point, is a good play.
Yeah, I think I agree. And the rest of the team, it seems like they've gotten priced up. I guess the Knicks aren't the fastest team either. But JJ Redick and Lonzo Ball, I project to get the most minutes with Holiday out, but their prices are way up. And then we have Brandon Ingram. He gets a lot more assists without Holiday. And the usage should be up a bit. But I'm not really landing on any of them, to be honest, just because the price have gone up to compensate. Is that where you're at, or are you higher on these guys?
I'm higher on Brandon Ingram. He's just been he's been about a 1.3 point per minute guy without Drew, but also huge minutes in these two games without Holiday. Kenrich Williams is out again, which while it doesn't make a huge impact, that is the direct backup to Ingram. Instead, like last game, you got Nicole Melli, who basically hasn't even been in the rotation. So I'm expecting another 37, 38 minutes from Ingram, probably a little bit above average production because he's facing the Knicks. So you're probably looking, 1.35 to 1.4 points per minute in 37 to 38 minutes. I think he looks pretty good. But I'm with you as far as, the salary coming up on guys like Lonzo and Redick. One other guy that I would mention, and it's more because it's more DraftKings specific because of the lack of value, but Nickeil Alexandra Walker is only 3,300 there. He's a good per minute producer when he plays. In the two games without Holiday, he played 15 minutes and then 20 minutes. He didn't, the last game against the Bulls did blow out, but he didn't play garbage time and still got 20 minutes. So I think that, he probably gets between 15 and 20 minutes most nights, and he's if he shoots well, he can have a good game.
Awesome. So I'm looking at these multipliers because on Super Draft, that's one of the fun things is instead of salary caps, I have multipliers. Brandon Ingram is my sixth highest projected player because he's a 1.3 multiplier. So he'd probably be one of my plays on there for sure. Also, Kawhi Leonard, man, 1.35 multiplier. People on Super Draft just don't like Kawhi. So guys, I got to throw out a promo here. So this is the absolute last day for our New Year's promo. It's $20 for 20 days of all access. You can sign up for either the weekly or the monthly one, and it counts for the first 20 days. That's a big discount from our usual rates. So, and you get to play football, you get basketball or any other sports. So if you don't have a membership right now, this is your chance to really try it out. Hopefully you win some money, and then you keep coming back and you can invest more into the sites. So the code is 2020 for that one. We also have a $200 off the full year. So check our Twitter for more information on that. All right, Spurs at Memphis. Memphis has been a pretty fast-paced team this year, so this could be a good one for the Spurs. It's actually about a pick'em though, so that's kind of Vegas is kind of adjusting to the Spurs really being an off year this year. But I'm landing on guys maybe like DeRozan, Aldridge. They seem a little bit underpriced to me at 7,200 or across the industry. Kind of that mid-range. Would you land on DeRozan and Aldridge given they're playing Memphis?
Yeah, those are the two that look the best to me. The minutes should be there, 33, 34 minutes. They're the two highest usage guys on the team. And one thing that stood out, just thinking like a little bit deeper too, is that Memphis has been the worst team, least efficient team defending in the post this year. Aldridge is routinely one of the highest post-up possession guys in the league. He already had one monster game against Memphis, and that's not something that I'm not saying it like, oh, he's going to do it again. I'm just saying like it made sense that it happened. He is in a really good spot from a matchup standpoint too, I think. So the minutes are there, the usage is there, the price tag's pretty affordable. I think that him and DeRozan both.
Nice. And one thing I've noticed is that, man, Murray, I got burned so much not playing him at the start of the year, but it seems like his production has dipped. Did DeRozan and Aldridge just take him and I'll be like, yo, you got to stop shooting?
Right. It's weird because like the beginning of the year, the rates like he was really cutting into the rates for Aldridge and DeRozan, and it was just like, man, like is he really going to do this all season long? Since he rejoined the starting lineup, only a 19.9% usage rate for Murray. He's averaged a little over a fantasy point per minute, but yeah, you're getting the ball back to Aldridge and DeRozan, and they're the ones producing again as they should be.
Yeah, it's one of the weirder storylines of the year. So
yeah, it was really annoying when it was happening.
Oh my god. On Memphis side, we got a full boat here. They got everyone healthy. The Spurs are a pretty good matchup, and Memphis is projected for 116 points, which is insane. But no one's really standing out to me as far as salary. I guess they all got bumped up a little bit. What about you? Are you looking at any Grizzlies?
They all look pretty expensive to me. It's it's one of those situations where it's a healthy team total, but I just expect the production to be spread out enough where I don't really love anyone. The only thing that really jumped out to me when I was looking at Memphis is since Ja Morant came back from his injury, Dillon Brooks still has a 26.5% usage rate. His salary isn't great either. Like he's 5,300 on DraftKings, but he's out there chucking up shots if you need like a really low owned guy that hopefully can shoot the lights out.
Yeah, so maybe on like a smaller slate.
Where, right. Yeah. If you're playing like a turbo slate or something.
Yeah. So not the most exciting team for the 10 gamer. Not enough injuries. That's what I'm seeing. So Charlotte and Utah. This one's a little bit more lopsided. Utah's 12-point favorite. Charlotte, they've been running their starters a lot more minutes recently. So we've been seeing about 37 a game for Graham, 36 for Rozier. I don't want to dwell on it too much because they are projected to have the least points on the slate at 100, and the prices aren't even that good. So would you take shots on any of these Hornets guys?
I don't have anyone that looked particularly good from Charlotte.
Yeah, same. Maybe Graham on FanDuel, where he's a little bit cheaper. And I will mention Marvin Williams is questionable. If Marvin Williams is out, then Bismack Biyombo becomes a play. Not like a good one, but I wouldn't think that someone was crazy with them. Utah on the other side, like you think it'd be a pretty good spot for Charlotte, but Decisive actually done a really good job adjusting these prices to matchups. So really looking at injuries, and I'm not really seeing anything of note. Are you landing on any Mitchell or Bogdanovich here?
Gobert is the one that stands out to me the most because, for one, I just think it's a great matchup for him. Charlotte is one of the worst teams defending in the paint. They're one of the worst rebounding teams, both in terms of total rebounds and offensive rebounds. They are they get blocked the 8th most in the league. Like everything that Gobert does, Charlotte gives it up. And then also, this is a slate where I think a lot of optimal lineups are going to be paying down at center. And so if you're like you had mentioned, we were talking about FanDuel, you naturally get a very different build if you pay up at center. I think out of the pay up options, Gobert is probably my favorite just because of how well the spot sets up for him. So I don't know how much I'll get to at exposure just because of, I think that, again, the optimal builds are paying down at center today. But I think that you do get a really high upside option and a really contrarian build if you go with Gobert.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, I mean, you got to love the matchup, and it's going to be hard for me to go to him over Portis. But yeah, we just actually get the Knicks starting lineup. It's pretty much what we expected. Bullock at the 3, Portis at the 4, Gibson. So in case you were wondering about that. We also got the news of the century. Karl Anthony Towns questionable for tomorrow.
And Jake Layman out. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, it's surprising they'd rule someone out so far in advance of the game.
Right.
Right.
Jake Layman must be like dead. He's been being ruled out a day early for like a month.
Yeah. Man, it takes a lot of injury for that to happen for sure. Yeah, Minnesota is one of those teams that's like doubtful game time decision, and then the guy's out for 3 weeks or something. Right. We'll be sure to talk about that tomorrow. Orlando, we have Aaron Gordon questionable. This is actually injury designation I'm putting more stock into because he didn't play the full minutes in the last game. Most of the starters subbed in the second half, but he came out at his usual time and didn't sub back in. So I think there's a pretty good chance that Gordon doesn't play tonight. Well, let's break it down both ways. Like, who do you think this injury benefits if he's out, and would you play him if he's in?
If he's out, I think it mostly isn't really that useful for DFS. I would expect that you get more minutes for Wesley Wonder. You probably get more minutes for Emil Jefferson and or Melvin Frazier, but it probably gets chopped up enough where it's not really that useful. Ken Birch last game played 28 and a half minutes, so it's hard to think that he gets that much more run even if Gordon's out. So I don't think it has like one specific benefactor.
So if we put Wesley Windu and Ken Birch in the starting lineup, what I'm seeing here is Wesley Windu is a 13% usage guy. Ken Birch is 9. So that means to me that Fournier, Vucevic, and Markelle Fultz will be chucking tonight. I guess I'll put it.
Yeah.
Fultz is benefiting because Augustine is ruled out for this game. So I have him as an excellent play tonight because his backup, Josh Mcgee, if that is in fact who will back him up tonight, but he's barely played in the NBA this year. So you got to think that Fultz will play big minutes here, right?
Yeah, I would expect low to mid 30s from Fultz, and like you said, an increase in usage, especially if Gordon's out, because he'd be playing against or alongside a bunch of really low usage guys.
Yeah, so what I'm landing on here, Fournier and Fultz are good plays. Birch on FanDuel is 3,900. He's I guess I gotta adjust this projection because there's a chance that Gordon plays and Iwundu starts. But Phoenix, they go big, so I wouldn't expect that to happen. So you can play Birch on FanDuel. And Vucevic is another pay up on FanDuel. Do you think that you prefer Gobert over Vooch or about the same?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Vooch is fine, but I do like Gobert a little bit more. I just think it's a little bit better spot for him than for Vooch, and he's a little bit cheaper.
So Markelle Fultz, how would you rate him as far as like must play on a scale from 1 to 10 with no Augustine here?
4 or 5. Like I still think that I think the price tag is still pretty close to accurate for him. I'm not confident that he plays like monster minutes. Like I think 32, 34 is probably pretty reasonable, but I'd be kind of surprised if you got like really crazy minutes out of him.
Okay, so
like I would still put him behind like Jordan Mccray.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of mid-range guys that really stand out, so maybe he doesn't stand out quite as much, but price is looking pretty good to me. On Phoenix, we've been seeing a lot of Baines, Ayton starting lineups versus Orlando with Gordon at the 4. I guess this is kind of a trickier spot because Gordon's questionable, but are you expecting Baines, Ayton again?
Yeah, I think that they are pretty confident in Baines being able to defend whoever's out there. So I don't think that there's any potential for on Orlando that they wouldn't want Baines out there against.
All right. Yeah. So he would be an option on like the late slate or whatever on FanDuel at 4,400, but Portis really stands out as a superior option to me. All the other guys, Rubio on FanDuel is a little bit cheaper than DraftKings, so that's a guy I could have, but Orlando really is one of the slower teams in the league, so a tough DFS matchup. Are you planning to have any of the Suns tonight?
Nothing that looks really good. Like I think Booker's salary is okay at 8,400 on DraftKings. He's been taking on a bigger role offensively. He's having his minutes staggered with Rubio, which is appealing. But in the context of a 10-game slate where there's a lot of options that I really, really like, Booker's not one of them.
All right. Yeah, I think we need some more injuries to get on some of these guys. We got a question in the premium Slack here from David. How are you setting groups for Washington? And just for anyone who's watching that doesn't use Cruncher, a group, it says like you don't want these two players in the same lineup.
Yeah. So for me, max 1 of Ish and Isaiah, max 1 of Pasek Sneaks and Mahinmi. I think I like max 2 of Troy Brown, Jordan Mccray, Bertans, Peyton. Yes, that's probably what I'll do.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Smith and Thomas is the one that you really want to set because, well, if you're using my projections, you're going to end up with both guys, and they do take away from each other, so that is significant. I don't really have Paz Sneaks as a play. Like Troy Brown and Jordan Mccray are kind of the guys that stand out to me in fantasy. Do you think you would end up on any Payton or Paz Sneaks?
I think I will get to some Mahinmi at 4,300 on DraftKings.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. He had a pretty good game the other night too. So
Yeah, I mean, the last game he was in foul trouble early, and Pastiksny's played like 35 minutes, including blowout run. But I think that it's more likely you get around a 24-24 split. And at 4,300 against the Hawks, I don't think it's crazy.
So next game we got Milwaukee at Sacramento. Whenever Giannis Antetokounmpo is out, it's Ersan Ilyasova night. But now we have Ersan Ilyasova out. So does that mean it's Giannis night?
Always Giannis night. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't have an impact. But
I was trying to fool you there. But anyway, the other injury here, George Hill was out last game. Now he's back. Does that move the needle for you on Bledsoe?
it makes me not as confident in Bledsoe's minutes, but I'm never that confident in Bledsoe's minutes anyway. I think that the best guess is you get 26 to 28 from Bledsoe.
Yeah. So on FanDuel he's kind of cheap, which is why I'm mentioning him. But as far as Giannis, he's 11.1K on DraftKings and FanDuel. On Super Draft, I'm guessing he has the one multiplier. So, do you think you're going to end up on a lot of Giannis?
I think, and I mentioned it when we talked about the Lakers earlier, I think he's really interesting from a tournament standpoint, especially on DraftKings, because he's the exact or basically the same as LeBron. The issue with Giannis is always how many minutes is he going to play, but in competitive games, he generally will get 32 to 36 minutes. He's averaging around 30 and a half, 31 minutes for the season. I always prefer him a little bit on the road just because it's less likely that they blow out whoever they're playing. I think he projects pretty similarly to LeBron because he's a better point per minute guy that plays fewer minutes. So if there's a big ownership gap between him and LeBron, I think he's a good pivot. But in terms of like cash games, I would give the edge to LeBron.
Yeah, I agree. I think that LeBron really stands out tonight because
All right.
about that, guys. So I had a little bit of a trouble here. I was trying to update my NHL ownership on the other computer, but my music was playing. So hopefully no one from the I can't remember what that company is that does the music strikes, but hopefully this doesn't get taken down later. Anyway, any other? Would you be into Middleton or Lopez here or anyone?
No, not really. There's just a lot of spots that I really like on the slate that aren't here.
Yeah, same. So the other side I think is more interesting because of the injury situations. We have Bagley questionable, Beal is questionable, midday downgrade. So what do you think? First of all, like how are you going to approach this? Because we're not going to know by lock. I can pretty much guarantee what's going on here.
Yeah, it's really tough because it's obviously just like completely guessing. My guess would be that Bielitsa doesn't play because he missed practice yesterday and then got the midday downgrade on the injury report. That would give more minutes to Trevor Ariza. We already know that Bogdanovich is out too, so they'd be pretty thin there. Ariza obviously not very good fantasy producer, but could play 30 plus minutes here. And then Bagley, no real read for me. I assume that if he does come back, he's at least somewhat limited. He's 6,200 on DraftKings, so it's not like he's really affordably priced. I think that the biggest implications would be if he's back, it would affect the minutes at the 5. But if he's back and Bielitsa's out, then you probably get more minutes for Dedmon anyway without Holmes. It's a pretty messy situation.
Yeah, so I guess I'll put it this way: is there anyone that would be a must play if both Bielitsa and Bagley were out?
I don't think so. Dedmon would be an okay value at 4,500 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you have Portis already there, so you don't really need it. It's a tough matchup regardless for everyone. So not a whole lot that I would like anyway. The guy that I think looks the best to me is not impacted by that, and it's De'Aaron Fox at 7,500 against DraftKings. I think that's just a really cheap price tag.
Yeah, so I've noticed that he's played more like 32 minutes compared to like 34, 35 for some of the other starters. Why do you think that has been?
I think in part it's been a game flow thing. I was kind of looking into it before the show, but like he played 36 last game against Phoenix. He played 30 in a 13-point loss to Golden State, 33 in a close game against New Orleans, 30 against Memphis. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened in that one. But I think his minutes probably ramp up sooner than later. Like he was playing big minutes earlier in the year. He played 36 last game. So I think I would go 33, 34 as a projection.
Nice. So that would make him a pretty good play there.
Yeah,
Um,
especially on DraftKings where the pricing's so tight. I think he kind of stands out as a guy that's priced kind of low.
nice. So I think definitely on the nice slate, I think these guys are going to be more in play. And once we get that injury news, maybe we can play some Giles and Deadman. Of course, with late swap, you could maybe sub those guys in and late swap to more effective lineups later. But okay, so we to reiterate from earlier, we have the super draft promotion going on. So it's free $500 in super draft money, like real money, basically that you have to enter there. We're awarding to a random person on Twitch. So to participate, go to Twitch, type exclamation super draft in our stream. And then you have to also be playing a paid contest in Super Draft today. So you can click the link in there to get the bonus. I think the code is Osmo. So good luck to everyone in that tonight. The last game of the night, we got Golden State at Clippers. We have D'Angelo Russell out. Kai Bowman, he's playing tonight, but not tomorrow. I have no idea what the deal with that is. I didn't know they needed to rest Kai Bowman. But
it's probably a G League days thing.
oh yeah, maybe he play. Yeah, that makes
Two-way
sense.
contract. He only has X amount of days.
Okay, that clears it up. But so really, it's hard to find anyone that to love here. They all look like they're priced pretty well, but no one player is standing out. Who's your favorite player on the Warriors side?
I guess Draymond or Damian Lee, but Damian Lee's getting a lot of ownership. I don't quite buy into that. Yeah, I guess Draymond would be my favorite at 5,700 on DraftKings, but it's not really a ringing endorsement.
I have to agree. I don't understand that Damian Lee thing at all. Like, why do you think that he's getting so much ownership there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I did notice him being projected a bit higher on a per minute basis than I think he should be on some other sites. So I don't know if maybe it's just that's why people are a little bit higher on him than they probably should be. But it's weird. Like he it's not that I think he's bad. The price tag's fine. Like at 5,300, you're getting 32 minutes, but it definitely doesn't look like someone that should be the one of the highest owned guys on the slate.
That is really kind of bizarre. So that would be a reason maybe to avoid Damian Lee tonight, if anything. Yeah, he only has about 20% usage, gets the average amount of assists. Actually, a pretty good rebounder, but nothing's standing out to me there. Alec Burks, he's been coming off the bench recently for Bowman. Does that kind of knock him down a little bit for you?
Yeah, that plus his price tag coming up. It's just we're back to we've just gone through like stages with Golden State this year where they had no bodies, so everyone was playing a million minutes, and then they were running 12-man rotations, and then they went back to not really having bodies, and then now we're kind of back to everyone gets to play and nobody plays massive minutes, and the pricing is still reasonably high for a lot of the for most of the guys that you would be interested in.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, this is kind of a peculiar situation that he'd be getting ownership here. Why do you think Bowman's minutes have been so low recently? Because I know in the early season he was getting like 36 a game almost.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is because they like he's not good, but they've kind of seen what they want to see from him. But I don't really know because it's still kind of weird that they're wasting his days with the Warriors, but not playing him full minutes. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I think it's probably mostly just that they have a lot of bodies that they're trying to.
Interesting. On the Clippers side, I think a much more interesting team for fantasy. So we got Paul George out. That really elevates Kawhi Leonard's numbers. I mean, we have a huge sample of this because Paul George missed the whole first part of the season. So I think Kawhi and Harrell are standing out for me. Will Williams, maybe a GPP play. How are you feeling about Kawhi compared to the other stars tonight?
Yeah, I think Kawhi is one of the better options on the slate. He projects a little bit better than, I mentioned liking Ingram at 9,200. Kawhi projects even a little bit better at a little bit higher price tag, but the minutes have been really high lately in competitive games. Obviously, there is a chance that they blow out Golden State here, but if that happens, it still should be in large part through Kawhi, who has averaged about a little over 1.5 DraftKings points per minute without George. His rates without George are about the same as LeBron's without Davis, but he's less expensive than LeBron. So I do really like Kawhi a lot.
Yeah, I think he's definitely probably number 2 to me to LeBron, so I like him as well. And then, sorry, close my spreadsheet here. All right, so what about the other guys? Maybe any Beverly, any Zubac?
Yeah, I think Beverly, Harrell, and Williams are all perfectly fine tournament options. Beverly, just because he can run into plenty of defensive stats against the sloppy Golden State team, and he's not expensive, so it's not really hard for him to have a good game. But George being out does also benefit Harrell and Williams because we'd been seeing Doc Rivers stagger George and Leonard, which means that when Williams and Harrell are on the floor at the second unit, they were playing with one of the main 2 usage guys, which knocks usage away from both of them. With George out, that obviously won't be the case. So you'll be back to the Lou Will and Harrell pick and roll that we were getting earlier in the season with the second unit, and it should give them both an opportunity to be really productive. DraftKings did preemptively price them up though, so that's why I think that they're tournament options more than optimal plays for me.
Yeah, same. So I think these late games probably not as exciting for the fantasy overall. So just a couple of things before we sign it off and hand it over to the live before lock. So I always say the most important tool in daily fantasy, of course, is your own intuition, because you gotta have your own strategy. You can't copy other people in a big tournament, or else you're gonna overlap too much with other people. The second most valuable tool by a small margin is the Awesemo.com subscription, just because it gives you the projections, the ownership, all the tools, the articles, like the deep dive written by Adam Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
And our live blog, and all these things are weapons you can add to your arsenal to just improve your game and get valuable opinions. And we have this promo going on, 2020 for 20 days. You get the $20, you get 20 days of all access membership. So it's a big discount, about 3/4 of the price knocked off, I think, for that period. So make sure to take advantage of that. Today's the last day you can do that. And before we sign off and hand it over, who do you think the most important plays on tonight's slate are, if you just had to pick a couple?
I think what you do with the small forwards between like LeBron, Kawhi, and Ingram is going to be really important. That's a spot where I think you can get some differentiation in tournaments. I think that Portis on FanDuel is a really important decision point. Really good play, obviously. And then on DraftKings, it's kind of the same thing with Javale Mcgee.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this AD injury is probably the biggest one on the slate, so it's really contributing to LeBron and Mcgee as fantasy plays. And then we got Jordan Mccray. I'm hoping everyone saw that last game and they're just not going to click that button, because I feel like he's pretty close to a lock. And then some other guys that I like, Mark Hufford stood out, someone who we don't get to play much, but today is the day, if any. All right, guys, we got live before lock coming up here. I believe Friday it is. I should have this up, but I think it's Spags and Josh. So make sure to keep tuned. We got some sick beats here for you to listen to in the meantime, and good luck tonight.
What's up, guys? We should be starting up now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Awesemo.com Live Before Lock show with a slate that's nice enough to give us a lot of the key news we needed before this show began. Perfect for us as hosts. I'm Chris Spags, joined again by a man who we coordinated outfits today, Josh. So I'm glad we're both looking so good. The Chubster, Josh Engelman. How are you doing?
I'm a lot better now that I know that we're both in the black hat, red shirt combination. I didn't know we had a uniform.
It is the official outfit to be a white DFS live stream host. So we're doing it. We're living up to all the stereotypes. But you know what? There's a more important thing than our outfit choices right now, Josh. We are living in the future of DFS. And that future is a bright light. It's being shone upon it. Oh, man, I blew that. Damn it. I'm going to soak in my own failure there. But bright light is being shined upon the future of DFS courtesy of Super Draft right now. We have a real big deal going on. You may have heard about it on the Deeper Dive right before the show. $500 in super cash will go to one of our Twitch streamers right now, a person watching us on twitch.tv/awesemo_com. You go there right now. Actually, I guess first they should do the part. We're going to drop a link in the chat this moment. It hurts me so much that I botched that segue, because that is the one thing I think I'm employed here to do. So to get segues right. Check the link in the chat right now. There is a link to a free roll contest on Super Draft. Of course, Super Draft is a site where they have a multiplier tournament style. No salaries, just multipliers for every player. You can pick any player you want in the league. If you want LeBron, Trae Young, all those guys in your lineup, you can do that on Super Draft. You click that link right now. You get a free roll contest on Super Draft. Sign up for your account on there. If you want to deposit, use the promo code AWESEMO to get yourself $20 with a deposit of $100 or more. But more importantly, go to the Twitch stream, enter !Super Draft. From there, you'll be entered to win a giveaway. And Josh, what are we going to do with that fine giveaway?
What do you mean, what are we going to do with it? We're going to give it away.
What are we going to do with it? How are we going to draw a winner?
So for those of you that weren't around for our brief dalliance in Twitch, every person that is hitting or typing !Super Draft is being entered into a drawing that will go off immediately after lock. I'll put it up on the screen. We'll do a fake drum roll. I'll click a button, and all of a sudden, someone's Twitch username is going to show up. And at that point, they are going to be $500 richer in super cash.
So two key parts there. Enter that free roll right away. Again, the link is in the YouTube chat. I'll paste it in one more time. I'll spam our own chat, even though I don't like doing that, but I'll put it in 2 times for you. Click that link. Go to enter the free roll right now. Sign up for your account. Do it now while you have time, very early in the show. We're giving away $500 in super cash at the end of the show. That is going to be real money you can use. You have to play it on the site, but then it should be yours and good to go. So go right now, twitch.tv/awesemo_com after you sign up for your account. And then go hit !Super Draft. And also, I'll make you guys a special deal. You want a more complicated promo? Here's one for you. So because on Super Draft, you get $20 free with your sign up with the promo code AWESEMO. You know what you can do? Use that $20 for our Happy New Year deal, which ends today. Go to awesemo.com/join right now and use that promo code 2020. You can get 20 days of Awesemo Plus for just $20. So you're reapplying money, spending it on yourself from your super cash. You go to awesemo.com/join and use that promo code 2020. 20 days for $20 with that promo code 2020. Now the whoring is done, Josh. So let's talk about some basketball players.
Do it.
JaVale McGee. What do we do? Actually, I don't even know if I should go JaVale or Portis, but I'll go JaVale first. JaVale McGee, now the chalk play of the day on DraftKings. Great value. Went off a couple times without AD in the lineup. What would you be doing with JaVale on DraftKings today? Because I know you love him as a per minute player, but with the ownership where it is, what are you doing?
Well, I recommended him as my contrarian play before the Anthony Davis news came out, so there's that. No longer contrarian. I haven't looked at it. I'm not planning on playing on DraftKings today. He looks good. He's my number 5 overall player on DK, so I assume that I would probably be north of the field as of right now.
As I am. I mean, he just looks like a really strong play. He's been about a 1.2, 1.3 fantasy point per minute player in court time without AD with LeBron. LeBron going to set up with some easy runs to the rim. Not a fast-paced game against Dallas, but certainly one where I'm not afraid of the bigs in there at all. So I like McGee quite a bit. I guess to make your final claim there with where the ownership is right now, as you mentioned, I think in our last run, we had him at about 32%. Actually, no, he's come down a little bit in this most recent one. We have him at 29%. Relative to the field, where would you want to be on DraftKings with McGee's 29%? I
would assume that I would be around like 50 to 60.
Okay, that's where I am. And actually, no, he went down in another run that we got, I guess, before while we were talking. 25% now for McGee. Yeah, so I'm double the field on McGee. I agree with that take. I think one pivot at his price point on DraftKings, which I'm really intrigued by, Ivica Zubac, who's been really good whenever one of the Paul George or Kawhi lineup has been out. He plays pretty well with Kawhi, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. So if you wanted to get away from McGee in some lineups, he's a guy I would take a stab at. But I agree, McGee is the strong play of the day on DraftKings in terms of value and upside. How about Bobby Portis on FanDuel? Because that's a much tougher choice in terms of your general lineup construction. Great value on there. Went off against Utah the other day, 40 fantasy points despite 5 for 17 shooting. What are you doing with Portis on there where it's a much tougher choice because you're playing him, and if you're playing him, you are locked in at center?
He's really hard to avoid. I am north of the field as of right now. You just don't find this sort of value at center all that often, especially for someone that can truly break the slate. If Bobby Portis is feeling himself, like, dude's just going to keep heaving. So he gets tricky because he can be the highest scoring center of this slate. Like he may be priced at 4,400, but there's nothing to stop him from beating everybody at center easily. So that's what scares me a bit. I'm just loading up on him, and I'm not even all that concerned given the $4,400 price tag. You're probably not going to win a contest if he bagels or has a very bad day, but at 4,400 you're not going to die. Like, it's not going to stop you from cashing.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, you may have a different take on this, but I also still like Portis quite a bit on DraftKings. Like, it'd be great if he were 3,800, 3,900 again. But I think the spot for him is a really strong one going against New Orleans. Put up 40 fantasy points against Utah, and we've talked about that matchup before where it's, a guy like Rudy Gobert affects the overall defense more than an individual matchup. But Portis just got a ton of usage in that spot, played good minutes, would have played more minutes if it weren't a blowout. He's so productive on a permanent basis and contribute in a variety of ways where on DraftKings, I still find him to be a really good upside play. Would you be willing to go to Portis at 6,400 on DK?
I honestly have no idea where I have him. Let me check.
Definitely less of a must-have, but I think to me, he's still very much in play, and I think people shouldn't be moving off of him that much.
Yeah, we have him projected for 12% ownership on DraftKings. I think that's about where I would be. He's my number 43 player on DK. So he would be right at the tail end of my player pool, if I had to guess.
Okay. No, that's fair. I'm more bullish on him today. Really like the spot for him, like the pace up, like the matchup for him. And I just think he's one of those guys where there are some players. I mean, the classic one I think is Sharif Abdur-Rahim. If we want to talk about a guy who's he's the G League president now, something like that. But he's a guy who just empty stats for sure. I mean, didn't play for a winning team, but still just a guy who filled up the box score if you gave him the runway to do so. To me, that's Portis in this spot. Going against a New Orleans team, really nothing great defensively to worry about for Portis. He can stretch the floor on favors. Jackson Hayes being in there for any minutes doesn't worry me. So I'm willing to pay him at his price on DraftKings, and I think he still has big upside on there. But clearly on FanDuel, that's a much different equation where I agree. He would be impossible for me to avoid on FanDuel other than just wanting a better center, but there aren't great centers really today.
Yeah, there's not a lot of great centers out there today. That's for sure. That's an understatement.
Morgan Smith in the premium Slack asking, do you like a JaVale pivot to Dwight Howard? Is that a play that you would find appealing? Because we've talked about this, and I think Adam in particular has done a good job articulating this viewpoint on the deeper dive before, where if you have guys sharing 48 minutes, one way to get leverage on the field is just to play the other guy. Would you be willing to do that at all with Dwight and JaVale, or are you just it's not the same situation?
I don't think it's the same situation because of the way that JaVale's a good play at 20 minutes today. So it's not as if Dwight can just play 28 minutes and JaVale can play 20 and he still looks perfectly reasonable on a per minute basis. I mean, it's not like I would be advocating to play them together or anything. But Dwight being 5,600 in comparison to JaVale's 43. Well, here's an easy thing. So, ignoring salary, Javale Mcgee. Ignoring salary, I have it basically like a 50-50 split of likelihood to be the highest scorer. JaVale is a significantly better fantasy player than Dwight. He's been at 1.33 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. Dwight is at 1.11. Even just in my model, it's a 0.15 difference. So really, you have to be projecting Dwight for a lot more minutes to make up for that salary difference. I don't see it as a one-to-one pivot. I don't see Dwight Howard as particularly viable here. I guess if you gave him, 26 to 28 minutes or something along those lines, you can probably get there. 1% ownership on DraftKings. I mean, if you're playing 150 and you have 5%, I don't think it's outlandish, but the more likely scenario for me would be that I would have absolutely no Dwight Howard.
And I think they just play a little differently too, where, I mean, JaVale's screening and running towards the rim. And if he's able to do that at a decent rate, like that's something, he's just a little more mobile than Dwight is at this stage of the game. Dunk contest aside, I think they're not the same player, but conceptually, like I think that's the way you should be thinking about a lot of these equations. Just today with Javale Mcgee, like JaVale averages 1.2 fantasy points per minute in 108 possessions with LeBron. With AD off, whereas Dwight Howard's a 0.8 guy. Like as Josh mentioned, it's a pretty big difference there. Pretty big split between the two guys because they're not doing the same thing. So that would be for me one reason why I would certainly favor Mcgee. But from a tournament perspective, I get what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Who else would you say is like, I guess, what other news item on here? Actually, before we move on, Kyle Kuzma, is he in consideration at all for you today? Because I have him on DraftKings. I don't mind him. He's not the sexiest play. We know he can fail, but at that price point, I really don't hate him.
Yeah, he's just sort of like a mid-tier guy for me on DK, 46th in my rankings. I like him a lot more on FanDuel, where he's $900 cheaper. On my last crunch, I got to 43% Kyle Kuzma. He's a $4,400 power forward. I think he's very clearly the easiest pay down option at power forward. Feels pretty safe just given his minutes. So I like him a lot more on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings.
Okay, that's fair. I don't mind the stabs on Kuzma at DraftKings. You got the dual position eligibility, which I never mind, and I think the price point works. I think he has some upside in the matchup. There's a big hole left behind without AD, and we had one spot where Mcgee went off in a game that had Kyle Kuzma. I guess the famous one is the one against the Warriors from earlier in November, and Kuzma saw 30 minutes of that game, had a decent fantasy game of his own, didn't have the heights that Mcgee did. But I think there's opportunity to go around. So I don't hate the stabs at Kuzma. And it does seem like he's due for better days, even with his stupid blonde hair that makes him look like Amber Rose. Have you seen his hairstyle? It's not the best.
Isn't Amber Rose bald?
Yes, but no, she actually has hair, but she like dyes it basically the same color as her complexion.
That seems like a big waste. Why wouldn't you just want to shave it all off and save yourself the trouble?
You want to look like one of the aliens from Alien Nation in that mid 80s show. If anybody,
I don't know the show, and the only thing that I know that Amber Rose looks like is the pixelated cover of that Kanye album.
Also that, and yes, she's a lovely human being and a very generous and giving of spirit. Let's move down the news items here because there are some other news items that have happened already. Bradley Beal is officially ruled out. Jordan Mccray going to take a jump up. But in terms of the news that we have out there right now, what would you say is the most important news item besides the Anthony Davis news that we already know? Is it Aaron Gordon?
Yeah.
Is it Bradley Beal?
Gordon.
Like, what is it?
It's Aaron Gordon for me. Prior to, I don't know, 45 minutes ago, once I just saw ownership and where Alex had everybody, I was getting a ton of Aaron Gordon. 5,900 on FanDuel. He became a guy that was really easy to get to. But I was getting like 40%, which was clearly not going to help me in any way, shape, or form. Decent chance he's not even on the court. Alex kind of alluded to it on the show that if he is out and Kem Birch starts at the 4, crazy low usage player, Isaac Bonga starts at the 3, crazy low usage player, you really have to take a close look at Markelle Fultz, at Evan Fournier, Ross to a degree, although he wouldn't be in the starting lineup, and then Vooch, because they're just naturally going to get more looks. You don't want Isaac Bonga and Kem Birch being the guys that are shooting the ball. I mean, you don't even really want Markelle Fultz to be the guy shooting the ball, but it depends on where you're at on the floor. So you have to assume that Evan Fournier and Vooch are just going to be gunning. And that's somewhere that I would like to be if that's the case.
Yeah, Terrence Ross too. I mean, even if Gordon's in, I do think Ross gets a boost from not having Augustine in that second unit. Augustine has been a guy who's taken some shots, had obviously a lead ball handler a lot of the time, and he really does just kind of control that offense in a way where I think there's a chance for Ross to get more. I agree with your take though. Like Evan Fournier, we've talked about him a lot on the show where people have noted, and I'm now just accepting of it, that I am, based on my projections for the year, an Evan Fournier stan. I'm very much on his side more often than not, but he gets a gigantic boost when Gordon is in that lineup. He becomes a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy without Gordon. Because there's a lot more usage, there's a lot more time for him to do stuff and be valuable as an assist guy. Like I like Fournier a lot more if Gordon's in.
By the way, I was saying Bongo over and over again. I meant Wes Iwundu, but we're talking about two guys that are both the same kind of crap.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't catch it, but I guess that's, yes.
They might as well be the same person. They could switch teams and no one would notice.
They are flotsam. I would say Bonga a little more athletic and has been able to be a playmaker, whereas the one dude just kind of a dude running around for the most part.
They're both the 14th guy on the team.
Yes, that's fair.
But good catch, chat. I didn't notice it. Good catch.
Yes, Isaac Bonga on your mind, I guess, as always. As he is for all of us.
Yeah, clearly.
How are you handling this if we don't get Gordon news before the slate locks on FanDuel?
Yeah, I've dialed him back. I have 15% right now. I think I'm willing to go to bat with that. If that dies, it dies. If he dies, he dies. But I don't know what else to do because I think it's a good spot and a great price for 5,900 if he's in. I just don't know if he's gonna play, and I don't know. There's no way for me to know. It's FanDuel, so I'm just gonna take a small chance. I'm not 60% on him like I am on some other dudes that may or may not play. On other days, not today.
I was going to say he was a 60% guy who may or may not play, but I guess that's not the case. So overall, that Orlando one, if we get the news throughout the show, we will tell you guys Aaron Gordon, a game time decision. And as we talked about, it does affect a lot of things. Terrence Ross, where would you shake out with him? Damn it. Where would you shake out with him at under 10% ownership now? He was going to be a chalk play earlier in the day before this value opened up, but would you want Ross now that he's going to be less owned?
I have him on FanDuel where he's 4,400. In 19% of my lineups, and we have the ownership at 4% there. I think he's a significantly better play for 4,500 on DK, and so I can't imagine how much I would have, but I have him 7th overall for me. I would have a lot of Terrence Ross, like stupid amounts.
Yeah. I too have a stupid amount of Terrence Ross, and I've justified it in my head with the Augustine thing, where even if Gordon's in, he's going to get a boost. If Gordon's out, like Ross, I think becomes a much better play, and I would feel really good about the amount I have, but right now, I'm comfortable with him, and the fact that he's going to be under 10% projected ownership on DraftKings when he was earlier in the day projected for mid-20s, it's a pretty decent discount on ownership that we got because of the value going elsewhere. So that's one that I'm okay with. Let's talk about the Bradley Beal news. People in the chat apparently confused that Beal is out. Beal is in fact out, was announced out within the last hour, so maybe you missed that. But Beal not going to be in the lineup means a lot of usage go around. Jordan Mccray had a dud last game, but he's had tough times against really good defenses. This is not a good defense he's going against with Atlanta, who plays at a similar pace, a 111 defensive rating. They are very bad defensively, so I love Mccray in the spot. Alex and Adam basically felt like he was a lock play. I don't want to misquote them, but Alex is indicating close to that. I would agree. I love Mccray. Where are you doing with Mccray today with no Beal?
He's in half my lineups, as is Troy Brown. A lot of Ish Smith as well. It's really hard to get away from these guys. I'm getting super tired of it. That much I can tell you. But yeah, I basically agree with them. Put it this way, and we had this conversation before, I think, on a show. I have Jordan Mccray projected significantly lower than Alex does. Like significantly lower. Like 6 points lower. However, I already have him at 2x the field. So there's only so far I can go before I have Jordan Mccray in every single one of my lineups. I don't even have to project him to where Alex gets him for me to get him everywhere.
It's just this matchup too, like, and his price really hasn't come up enough where maybe if he's 7,500 going against Denver, I think, well, they're a team who's messed with him, but a slow paced team who defends well. Like then you go like, I don't know about Mccray, but going against Atlanta in the game with a team total that's come up now to 239.5 combined total in this game. Like to me, I talked about in the Four Corners today, the short form video I do on this channel if you're not watching it. But like it's like the Super Bowl of NBA DFS, but based on these two teams we target against frequently. I just don't see how you get away from Mccray. One guy I think you can get away from, but also has upside, Isaiah Thomas, who's also now a chalk play on FanDuel, again, because of Beal being out, that opens him up a little bit more as value. How would you feel about chalk IT? Because he's been getting the opportunity. He just keeps losing minutes to Ish Smith, who I think eye test wise looks like a much better player every game.
Hold on. I think you're looking at DraftKings ownership.
Yeah.
You said FanDuel. I was like, dude,
Isaiah
Thomas is 8% owned, and I was about to have like a mild freak out that he's chalk now.
No, my bad.
I was like,
if
Ish is 32, what in the world is Isaiah Thomas owned at? No, I'm getting to both guys. I'm pretty neutral on Ish. And then we have Isaiah projected for 8.5, and I have him in 20.
Okay.
So you're willing to be there. This game is amazing for a fantasy perspective for Washington.
Yeah, for both sides, I would say.
Okay. So it's a great spot for Atlanta.
I
would be very wrong to say that it wasn't. It's clearly a great spot, but there's not nearly the same amount of value coming out of the Hawks as there is coming from Washington. For the most part,
Yes.
I really only like Trae Young.
Really? Okay, so this is one too where I think Alex also said in the deeper dive that he was not too big on John Collins. And again, I don't mean to misquote. I'm just paying attention while doing the stuff I have to do to prep for the show. But like, I really am willing to pay for the Hawks today, especially now that we have some ways to get cheap guys in there. And I get you don't want to do it a lot, but I think these guys are just underowned. I mean, Collins is at 10% in the most recent run of ownership we had for DK. Cam Reddish sucks, but he's at 4%. Kevin Huerter doesn't suck. He's under 10% too. And Trae Young's under 20, even though he just went for 80 fantasy points against Houston while shooting 11 for 30. Like, I really like these guys. I have been trying to find ways to force them in. Would you not want to force them in just because the prices stink?
I am under the field on Trae Young slightly. I have 19%. We project 21, so that's not crazy. I have 8% John Collins. We have him at 11. 5% Kevin Huerter. We have him at 6.5. I don't have anyone else.
Damn. Okay. I don't love the stabs at Cam Reddish, just to be clear as much. He just looks like a decent value on paper, but Huerter, I'm a little bit above the field on him. I'm very above the field on Trae just because it sucks to do it after a day where he went off, but the field doesn't seem like they're point chasing him based on our run of ownership. So I'm willing to go there. He just keeps doing it. And this is the spot. If you're going to do it, him against IT, I mean, my God, that is the most matador defense you will ever find in professional basketball.
Probably true.
So to me, I would just err on the side of having more of this game than less. And the total just keeps going up. And we now have two teams projected for around 120 points each.
Yeah.
And, maybe it'll underperform somehow. There's definitely ways they can. The teams do miss a lot of shots. That's a part of two bad teams. But on paper, I really do like this spot quite a bit. What would you say is another spot that's very important for you on a slate in terms of your ownership, perhaps more important to you than it is for the field right now?
I mean, I've got a lot of Kevin Knox right now.
Okay.
He's the flat minimum on FanDuel, 3,500. Small forward sucks on FanDuel, really bad. As far as I'm concerned, like there's like 4 guys that I'm even interested in playing. So Kevin Knox is projected for 4% ownership. I have a lot more than that, and I'm not mad about it. I do want to let it be known that Kevin Knox is terrible at basketball. But sometimes price matters, and I expect him to be able to get enough minutes to be half relevant, I guess. And I'm not super worried about the Pelicans.
He was less terrible last year.
No, he was about as bad as it. Are we talking from fantasy or
from a fantasy perspective? Yes.
Okay. He's just bad clear across the board. He's one of the worst NBA players ever through his career. I mean, he might have had the worst rookie season in the history of the NBA.
Man, that seems tough. I guess I haven't looked that deeply. And I know this year he's shooting 37% from the floor. He wasn't shooting well last year either. He definitely got a lot more volume last year with Fizdale, but I guess I might just be remembering the positives more, and I do tend to do that. But I don't know. I'm okay taking a stab at him. I guess you're the one who's doing it. So yeah, sure.
Yeah, so just to talk about this a little bit, because this happens every single time. Hunter Kinsey said, well, early night for Josh, LMAO. He's 3,500 on FanDuel. He could score 0 and it doesn't even matter to me. Like, if I'm lucky and he gets to 30 fantasy points, I love life. If he gets 20, it's just like, okay, if everybody else goes crazy, that's fine. I can afford all of the rest of the lineups. You will never die on a $3,500 guy. You will die on an 8K guy.
Yeah, I think you've proven this point a lot over the shows where we've talked about guys where you've had really aggressive stands and then they end up working out well or just well enough where you can still, you're either cashing, maybe you're not banking necessarily, but that's not necessarily what matters, but the scale and the amount of lineups you're playing. So yeah, I agree. Like, I think Knox at a minimum price, and I think he's less terrible than you do. So I very much buy in on that take, especially on FanDuel. Go
sign up for Fantasy Cruncher through awesemo.com. Get yourself FC Pro. Fire up lineup study. You'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you were talking to people in Slack about that today. Just that a lot of people just spend 5 hours looking up on lineup review or the Fantasy Cruncher rewind and just figuring out what pros are doing, and you'll have a much better read on how you should be playing and exposures and all that.
Yeah. Look, I might be too heavy on Kevin Knox, but I'm never mad about being too heavy on a guy that's the minimum salary.
Yeah, I think you explained it well. And I get people are like, there was somebody in the chat who, and this is not to call them out and be shitty, but you said like, oh, you have fun with Bobby Portis on FanDuel. Like, yeah, have fun with Bobby Portis on FanDuel. It's a really good price. If you were Kevin Knox's price, I would be like, you'd have to have 100%.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
These guys have prices. It's not like I have to play Kevin Knox at 6,400 tonight.
Yeah, you don't have to be married to him forever after today. But he's
the flat minimum, and the starting small forward and power forward are out.
Yeah,
I'll take
there's usage to go around in a pace-up spot against a bad defense, so that's also everything too. Couple super chats to burn through, and also the premium Slack. I want to get some questions before we do all that, though. Right now, because it's important to you guys, go right now to twitch.tv/awesemo_com. Actually, let me post the link in. Oh crap! Do I even have the link? Lost the link, but I'll post a link in the YouTube chat right now. But enter any contest on Super Draft right now. If you do that, you can enter to win a free $500 in super cash from them right now. God damn it. I have our projections pasted in the YouTube chat right now. But go to twitch.tv/awesemo_com right now. After you've signed up for Super Draft, if you do that and enter the exclamation point Super Draft on there, you'll be entered to win $500 at the end of the show, which Josh and I will be drawing the second that we finish here. So go check that out right now on twitch.tv. And I got the link and I'm putting it in YouTube right now. So if you want to do your free roll fast, it is a free roll contest as well going on right now. So you could just do that part, even if you didn't want to enter to win $500. But go check that link in the chat right now. Tyler Hitchcock, $2. Thank you for the super chat on, damn it, too many super things. Everything is super in our lives, Josh. Tyler Hitchcock wants to know, Josh, on Yahoo, if you're doing one lineup, would you go LeBron or Giannis? He just asked you. So what do you think?
Yahoo, LeBron or Giannis, I would go to LeBron.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this particular night without AD, I don't see why you wouldn't just take LeBron, especially on Yahoo, where a little bit less sharp. I think that's still, like Giannis is a fine tournament play, but I would just go LeBron on that side in particular. Darren Anderson also sent a super chat in. 8.4K on DK under 7%. Is Booker a good pivot to Trey? I think Booker is a fine play, and I think you can afford to play him with Trey today if you want to really spend some money. But Booker's been over 50 fantasy points, I think 4 out of his last 6 games. His role is stabilized since he had that forearm injury. The usage has been there. Not a great matchup against Orlando, but it would get a lot better if Aaron Gordon isn't in. So I don't mind that. Would you be willing to go to Booker at low ownership?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issue with a 6.5% owned Devin Booker. You can't really compare him to Trae Young. It's a $2,000 difference. What are you doing with that other $2,000? I prefer Trae Young between the two, even relative to salary. But $2,000 is $2,000.
Yeah, I think Booker's been steady enough in a lot of matchups where I'm okay to go to him today. Again, especially if Gordon is out. So I guess if we're talking that's on a late slate game, but if you're playing like a slate that specifically focuses on Phoenix and you'll know that news before lock, like I think it's totally fine to go to Booker. But I think it's fine either way because he's just been really good and been getting the volume and the usage has been up. And those are all the things that we've been worried about him, why he's underperformed throughout the year. Going back to the premium Slacker, we got some questions built up here. In cash on FanDuel, Josh, for Mike Baker, would you pay up at point guard or pick 2 lower price guards?
If I'm playing cash on FanDuel, I would be playing. I have my table all jacked up. Move things around here. Wow, it's really flat. So I'd be playing Ish for sure, and I probably would be playing. I would start with Lonzo and see how much money I had left. With the goal of getting to one of Trae Young or Luka. But Ish, full stop, has got to be one of your point guards.
Yeah, but the ownership on there, now that I took a look at that definitely makes a lot of sense. Brian Peel asking thoughts on Rondo and Kuz. We talked about Kuzma. Rondo is a guy, though, who gets that boost on a numbers basis if you were to go to NBA Wowie or something like that and see the on-off numbers. Did you go to any Rondo? Did you adjust his rates for the spot without AD, or is it just you're playing Rondo as he is?
I'm just not playing Rondo as he is.
Okay. Yeah. Same for me, but I thought it was worth asking because I think he becomes like 1.15 fantasy points per minute without AD, which is not far off from what he does regularly, but I don't know how he
been
gets
at
more
0.8 FanDuel points per minute the last 30 days.
He's gone down that far? I don't know.
That's what happens when you're not good at basketball.
Rondo's still he's still fine at basketball. He still gets assists and stuff. Well, fantasy basketball, he's still fine.
I'm guessing he's just been atrocious lately because he's
Yeah.
significantly higher than that with AD off the floor.
Nick asking, do you guys adjust the amount of exposure that your crunch gives you? Do you just trust the optimizer? It's a 150 run. I just don't know if it's ever good to have 100% of somebody. We talk about this as a little bit of a beginner question, so no offense intended, Nick, but just want to make sure that we cover this. I guess, Josh, what's your 10-second answer on that? Because I know it's one you could probably talk about for an hour.
Yes, I adjust the things that come out of Fantasy Cruncher. Fantasy Cruncher is a calculator. It's like typing 2 + 2 into a TI-89 and getting 4. So it's only just going to give you whatever you put into it. Finding out the relationship between that information and the rest of the information for the slate is the key to it all. So I have no problem playing 100% of someone if the situation warrants it. I don't think that is an issue at all. If you're running a crunch in Fantasy Cruncher and you're getting more than one person at 100%, you probably don't have enough uniques or randomness on your crunch.
Yeah, and Alex talks a lot about that in his daily game plan premium videos. And Nick, you are on the premium Slack, so make sure to watch those. But you're putting in 2 or 3 unique players per lineup. You're adding randomness in. You're doing all that stuff. You're going to probably end up not with that 100%. But no, generally not the right idea to play 100%. But if it happens and you're doing the process correctly, it's okay. Just,
Malcolm Brogdon out.
Does that give you any Aaron Holiday interest?
I doubt it, but I haven't looked at it all day, so. I assume no, but I'm updating right now to find out, and I can give a little bit of an answer. All right, so 28 minutes there. TJ McCons can get up to 18. We'll give Edmonds. Where the hell? Wow, where did all the minutes go? Did I accidentally delete something else? Edmonds.
Alex had him for 24 minutes because of the way that he ran the Brogdon minutes being like half in, and I don't think I would get there, especially against Chicago. Has been really down pace, and you kind of saw it with Lonzo. They really cramp point guard style enough where they can't get much room to do the things they normally do.
I need to give someone like 4 more minutes, and I don't know who that's going to be. Gar Sampson, come on down. Okay, so for Indiana now, doesn't really change anything overall. For the Pacers, I mean, $4,600 Aaron Holiday is absolutely in play. That's okay. FanDuel price, $5,600 on DraftKings. I'm indifferent, but you kind of have to look at Aaron Holiday right now.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense with the FanDuel price. On the DK price, I just don't find myself doing splits over in this particular matchup, but yeah, it's fine. Jack Haverstock in the premium Slack asking thoughts on Derek Jones. Continues to get minutes of good production. On a projection basis, it doesn't seem like he's there for Osmo or for my projections because we both got him at 23 and 23.2. Would you be willing to go to Derek Jones and point chase some of the big games he's had?
So I had a lot before, and I took 2 minutes off of him, so I would get less. Let me see where I'm at now. Did I take too much away from him? Oh, shit. So I might have took too much away from him because now I don't have him at all. So I'm going to give him another minute. I don't have a problem with him. Just be careful. Because sometimes you get 40% and then you don't notice it and you take 2 minutes away and then you don't get any.
Yeah, he's been a 15% usage rate guy on the year, 16%, but he shot more recently. I don't know what's going on. I would like to see more of a time that I guess the last 2 games he's had 22% usage in both, and that was against Indiana and Portland, so 2 different matchups too. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a little more wait and see for me, but Derek Jones, certainly a guy with upside. I'd prefer more in a pace up type game with loose defense. Brooklyn is a pace up, but it wouldn't be a play for me, but I get it. Let's see. Sexual Church. That's a funny name. Do you like Cam Reddish at all as a pivot away from Knox at small forward?
I do not.
Okay. Let's see. I'm just going through the rest of these questions. Not doing either ors yet, guys, too much. Just wanted to knock some of these out. BK asking who would be your top 3 to 4 exposed on FanDuel. I know you're still probably running crunches in that, but who do you anticipate those guys being?
Jordan Mccray, LeBron James, Troy Brown, Bobby Portis. Do I have anybody else over 40? Those would be my top 4.
Morgan Smith and FCLP DNB. Boy, if you want your name to be said on the show often, give me something easier to read. Like Trick Swayze. Trick Swayze, one of our guys on Premium Slack. Always good for some funny lines. And I remember that name. FCLP DNB. Not so much.
Are you just shouting out letters? Is that the new group that's the new LGBTQ?
No, they're actually they're a Korean boy band who's really sweeping the nation. FCLP DNB. But he and Morgan Smith are asking about RJ Barrett. Alex has him projected super well, but he hasn't really been performing as of late. So I got Barrett today, in part because I mix my projections with Osmos when I'm crunching things and figuring it out. Barrett's me, having watched enough Knicks games, because I'm a sucker for punishment and enjoy watching bad teams from guys that I play. Barrett's not doing the same stuff offensively as he was before. The usage isn't far enough off where I think that's a bit of an eye test thing, but a lot more standing in the corner since Fizdale got fired, a lot less time running the offense. So I'm not going to be there as much as Alex's projections would put us on. But how do you feel about RJ Barrett with yours?
I am 2x the field as of right now on RJ Barrett. I have 23% on my last crunch. We had him projected for 11 on FanDuel. That might change a little bit on this next one now that I'm opening up a little bit more value via Aaron Holiday, but I expect to still be over the field on RJ Barrett. I just love those Knicks today, man. Can't get enough Portis and Mitchell Robinson and Kevin Knox and RJ Barrett, and they're going to score 64 points, and I'm going to dive off the roof of my house.
I don't know. I really like the Knicks make sense now with Mike Miller as the coach. Like I still would have preferred it were the other Mike Miller with and he was wearing the hair bands and stuff and looking like he did with his LeBron runs. But I still like the Mike Miller they have, who just gives them steady minutes. Guys get the opportunity they're supposed to get. When Randall's out, Portis does a Randall approximation. Like it's just a logical team. So I'm with you. I think the Knicks are a team to go with, especially at home against New Orleans. It's a pretty nice spot for them.
I've never been less confident in anything in my entire life.
I load up lock button all your Knox and Portis in the same lineup. Why not?
I just accidentally give Bam Adebayo like a boost because now I feel like I have 600% of him. Did I have him before? Okay, I had him before. Fine.
Is he just not owned? I mean, he's not owned, so I don't mind that really at all. Yeah.
Noted center Bam Adebayo, no matter what Laffy tries to tell you.
Is he saying he's not a center?
Technically, from Laffy's perspective, Myers Leonard is classified as the center and Bam Adebayo is classified as the power forward when they're on the floor together. I respectfully disagree.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough in the positionless NBA, but if you were to give any credence to Laffy's argument, it is that Bam occasionally brings the ball up. But so does Andre Drummond, so I don't know that should be a qualifier either.
No. You know how Andre Drummond has like 200 turnovers or something stupid this year?
He does sometimes. He brings the ball up, and it's like, why are you doing that? He's just like a big dancing bear running up the court.
I think it was a Zach Lowe tweet. I could be wrong.
That's funny. Also, to be clear,
it was Zach Lowe's article. I'm pulling it up here because I don't want to get the number wrong. Drummond has 99 assists and 131 turnovers. That is ... not great. He ranks 399th in assist to turnover ratio.
Yeah, probably a sign that just because you can bring the ball up as a big man doesn't mean you should. But I admire the effort. As somebody who fails often, we all do. You just got to dust yourself off and keep going.
I had to bring the ball up my freshman year of freshman basketball because our point guards were too small to see over the trap.
That's actually pretty funny too.
Zach Lowe's articles.
I just real fast on Zach Lowe's articles because we both have shouted them out before. A worthwhile read just to get some insight into the guys you're playing every night. Because sometimes there are random things in there like that where you're like, I see this guy every night and I just haven't computed that. But yeah,
his Friday 10 things article should be one of the first things you read every day on every Friday morning. Just bang it out. You should be subscribed to Tom Ziller's email newsletter and you'll get 20 links of all of the best NBA stuff you could read.
Oh yeah, Tom Ziller's a good guy. He's been around the digital industry for a while and does a good job staying relevant.
And you should also go to twitch.tv/Osmo_com and type super draft to try to win 500 super cash bucks. I can't say it as you can win super cash. I don't know. Like, do you say cash twice? I don't know, but do that. But you got to be signed up at Super Draft and you need to register for the free roll in the link that's being posted in Twitch. Do that stuff.
So much like one of our other providers whose rewards points you can use to just buy houses and cars and goods at Lowe's, Super Cash, same thing as real money. So you just call it it's like cash, but it's super. it's invigorated with a bit more energy. And that's what happens when you are playing the future of DFS at superdraft.io. I don't think we said the actual superdraft.io, by the way, is the site, or superdraft on the App Store. But it isn't a .io site in case you are confused going to superdraft.com, which I think is like a hockey site or some weird shit.
The tricky part for us is that we have Superdraft, who we love. They have Super Cash, but we also get Super Chats from YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot it becomes a tongue twister. So apologies in advance when we inevitably mess that up, because there's just too many super things. Most of those things are happening at Super Draft. Those things are super for sure.
But we are super. Thanks for asking. That's what...
Shit, I'm getting a lot of Jordan Mccray.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Look, never a bad time to have Jordan Mccray unless he's playing a good defense, in which case it is a bad time to have Jordan Mccray.
Yeah, I'm letting it sail, man. I don't care.
Were you playing DK tonight? I forget.
No, I can't play DK. I can't play two sites the night that I'm on a stream if it's a 10 timer.
So Sting asking, what are your top exposures on DK? So I'll answer that one. For me, it's McGee. I have way more than the field of Zubac. So that's just relative to the field there. He's not one of my top exposed guys. Trey, also one of my guys in the mix. Bobby Portis also in the mix. I'm playing a FanDuel lineup on DK with my guys, but those are the ones that jump out to me off the top of my head. And Kuzma too, I'm going to be more than the field on.
I can guess if that helps.
Yeah, go for it.
My highest ranked guys on DraftKings right now are Jordan Mccray, Isaiah Thomas, Kevin Knox, Jan Mahinmi, JaVale McGee, RJ Barrett. Well, I guess I should include Terrence Ross and Damian Lee. So lots of pay down options are available. If we're going to be talking about like legitimate options, LeBron is the guy that I'm paying up for by miles and miles. 18.7% owned on the last update that I grabbed. I assume it's still somewhere in that neighborhood. I assume I'll have like 40, 50, 60, something like that on DraftKings. He's the guy that I'm going to. If we need anybody else, Vooch, Jimmy Butler, DeMar DeRozan probably going underrepresented. Spencer Dinwiddie probably going underrepresented. Format.
Speaking of the Kyle Kuzma part on DK, McGinty MC, do you like Kuzma at 12% ownership on DK? Yes, I do. If he were a chalk play, I would go the other way. With him in that low ownership, I think he's got more upside than people realize.
Agreed.
I think people are just talking themselves into hating him generally. Is it crazy to direct pivot to Mahinmi off of McGee on DK? I would say it's not crazy, but I would prefer McGee by a wide margin. But Josh, do you think that's crazy or no?
I have Jan Mahinmi slightly ahead of JaVale McGee on DraftKings.
Let's see.
So, no, I don't think that's crazy at all. I think that's the type of play that can win you some money.
Notorious Fats asking, pass for Jimmy Butler to fail tonight, which, again, my boy Trick Swayze coming through. Do you really need Chris Spags to explain how Jimmy can fail tonight? The way that he fails is just being passive. I actually like him in spots like this, like the one against Brooklyn, where it's a little bit of a tougher defense. They actually play with more pace than I usually prefer for Jimmy matchups, but no Justice Winslow on there. I think is going to be the main thing for him. But he just sometimes gets passive. You are going to get some dud Jimmy nights. So he's a guy, unless you have pretty much nobody left in rotation, I wouldn't necessarily want to smash play when his price is high. But that's generally how he fails.
I'll tell you this much. I'm not so sure he's going to fail the next time he faces the Indiana Pacers.
No.
He is going to try to jam a ball somewhere in a negative spot to one TJ Warren. Can't wait. Circle that one. You guys want narratives? Jimmy Butler has proven to be a fairly spiteful person when it comes to the NBA. He's going to give it to TJ Warren pretty brutally. Be ready for it.
Yeah, I thought he was a good play in that spot too, but I feel like just once you get Winslow back in the mix, that gets a little weird.
Okay, Peyton, Mccray, Bonga, Mahinmi is the starting lineup for the Wizards.
Wait, so you said Mccray was in there, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank God. All right, just wanted to be clear there. So Berton's a guy not starting, limited minutes. Would you play him at all, by the way, just out of curiosity?
No, I would not.
Okay.
I wasn't really getting to him when I wasn't projecting him for like truly limited minutes. Once he became mildly limited, that was it for me.
Domantas Sabonis will play Friday, which is one that came through about 13 minutes ago, which we didn't say. Is Sabonis a guy that you'd want to get to now with his price up on DK, I think makes him really unlikely to be owned with the questionable tag and this news coming in now, but a really good matchup for him against Chicago. Just really bad against centers, giving up a lot of rebounds. Daniel Gafford is not going to inhibit Domantas Sabonis in any meaningful way. Is Sabonis a guy you'd want to try to get into lineups?
I don't think so. Pretty expensive. He's my 60th ranked guy on DraftKings. I assume I don't have much on FanDuel, if at all. I have 4% on FanDuel. I just don't like the price. He's just too expensive.
Okay. Yeah, he's expensive. You know, I feel like you see the upside. He's been expensive for a while, and you just keep seeing him in these like top of the tournament lineups. I don't know if necessarily at the end of the night, but just the guy who really wouldn't surprise me if he put up 55, 60 fantasy points against Chicago, who just misses shots, gives up lots of rebounds. Brandon Towers, thank you for the super chat. He says, love the show, guys. Ended up being able to fit LeBron James and the Greek Freak in a DK cash build. Should I rebuild to get off Giannis or let it ride? I would be less inclined to go to Giannis in cash today because he's not going to be that owned.
I would have to see the lineup. I don't have a problem with it if you got there. I assume that you can be relatively chalky and value filled to do that. And from what I'm seeing, it's not like anybody's like particularly highly owned. So I think that works. I would rather have Trae Young than Giannis. So I would rather try to find $700 elsewhere.
Yeah, I actually very much agree with that. Trae's ownership has risen in their most recent run here that came out 3 minutes ago. And Trae is now one of the top 5 chalkiest plays on the slate, along with LeBron. So I agree with that take. I would rather go Trae's way. Damn it. I was hoping Trae was going to stay in that 10% range, but too much value, I guess, to go around.
Like, I could never just be like, oh, no, I wouldn't play Giannis there because he's Giannis. There's a floor there that I think will be fine. But I think it's just easier to save a couple $100 and even upgrade a little bit more somewhere else.
Yep, I think that's fair. James Johnson saying, any news on Ingram? I think the expectation is he's going to play. I don't think there's... I think he's got the Q tag on DraftKings, but I feel like I haven't seen anything indicating he was going to be out.
Yeah, I'm under the impression that he's just playing.
Mm-hmm. By the way, like his numbers the last few games without Drew Holiday, like we've talked about him a lot. And I've talked about him a lot on the content I do. He's one of my favorite players this year, which is surprising because I was pretty down on him, and I was probably one of the people who was more team Kyle Kuzma over him for a stretch, at least the beginning of both their careers. And last 2 games, 56.5 fantasy points against Utah, 61.5 against Chicago. And he really didn't shoot well in that Chicago game, just 7 for 19. Like, he's a monster against the Knicks. If they don't blow him out, like, he could really have a ceiling day.
God, I've got some really scary ownership on some people.
On who?
LeBron, for one.
Okay. It's a lot of LeBron.
It is a lot of LeBron. It's not comfortable. It feels like a good spot, I guess.
Yeah. It's hard to see him failing outright. Like, he's going to give you 50.
Okay. I don't need you to be talking in absolutes here, man. That's how sound bites get formed.
Like, what is he going to give you, 15? No, he's LeBron James with no Anthony Davis. At least 50. Lock it in.
Don't mess with my money, man.
No, I do actually
there is like a key piece to this that I do want to touch on.
Yeah.
The Mavs have been worse defensively with Kristaps Porzingis off the floor. And I think that's relevant in terms of rim protection for this team. Obviously, LeBron does like to get to the hoop from time to time, especially when he's in like aggressive LeBron mode. So if I take Kristaps Porzingis off the floor for the Mavs, which I'm working on right now, I do want to make sure that I'm speaking the truth here.
No, you're right, by the way, because that was something I saw on Twitter this week, and I meant to actually post in one of my columns, but I just forgot the tweet. But they were giving up the most points in the paint in the league, I think, with Porzingis off the floor. One of the.
So they give up 2 more points per 100 possessions when Porzingis is off the floor. They have a 17th percentile defensive rebounding rate. So putbacks, etc. They don't really cause many turnovers, so I think that allows for LeBron to be significantly more aggressive. But they're also 14th percentile in allowing, you were right, 14th percentile in allowing shots at the rim. They're cutting out the corner 3, which is essentially meaningless to me when it comes to LeBron, and they are just allowing everybody to get to the hoop. And in that case, TJ McConnell starting for...
I was going to interrupt you, but I was going to let you finish your thought.
So I think that bodes well for someone like LeBron, who should be able, he's not going to be worried that Dwight Powell is at the end of the line for him.
Yep, I would agree. All right, so TJ McConnell officially starting for Malcolm Brogdon. Is he now one of the better value plays on the slate? Because I would think he is if he's going to get you 30 minutes.
Has he started before? I mean, I don't necessarily think that he gets you 30 minutes. I think that would be an aggressive push.
Well, high 20s would make him pop up a lot. And
I gave Aaron Holiday 28, so I'd have a hard time giving TJ McConnell anything more than that. Obviously, he's going to become a bigger value. I'm just trying to see if he's started.
He hasn't started at all this year, no.
How do you know? Oh, did you just scroll through?
Fantasy Cruncher, you could do the start thing.
Quickly. Okay.
Yep.
And
he's played upwards of 27 minutes off the bench.
The better question is, whose minutes are sacrificed?
One of the holidays?
Okay, so let's just say we give TJ McConnell 24 minutes. If I give him
right now,
if I give him 24 minutes, he becomes a really nice value across both sites. 3,700 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DK.
So Alex in his most recent run, or at least the one that I pulled in, had McConnell at 18 and Brogdon at 12 because of the questionable status. So if you just gave the 12 to McConnell there, like that's why 30 came to mind for me. But he would project for like 30 fantasy points.
Yeah, I have him at 30 fantasy points.
Just about. I mean, based on
how many
also
minutes?
Projections. Alex has him at 19.7 at 18 minutes. So
I gave him 24 minutes. I have him at slightly less than that from a fantasy point perspective.
Okay. So how do you handle this? I mean, the timing is now, we are down to very little time left, 8 minutes left.
You should definitely be playing a little bit more of him than you were before. That's for sure.
Yeah.
As I said, as of right now, I have him 16th overall on DraftKings. So do with that what you will.
Jeez. Yeah, that's I don't know that that's like a slate changing play, but that could be, I think. And if you're a person in position right now to get a good amount more of TJ McConnell, I think I would be pretty inclined to do it because that's a real boy. Okay. Let's see. Got some questions in the premium Slack to burn through. I
don't want to get too much of him right now, so I'm a little nervous.
I would think that's
because
better.
I'm only going to get one shot to run this crunch, and I need to kind of get him ready so that I don't get 65% TJ McConnell.
That would be a lot of TJ McConnell, I would say, but
I'm hoping to get like 20 to 25.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's Jesus Christ. All right, I got to get some McConnell in. We got an either or for you from Ben Forbes, Kuzma and Lonzo, or Ish and Lowry on FanDuel if you have both Brown and Mccray.
The Kuzma.
Okay. Let's see. What else do we got here? Does Bertans being back in the rotation pose any concerns for Mccray, Brown / Ish value? I would think a little bit more for Brown than anybody. It wouldn't worry me about Mccray too much, but do you think that Bertans back in affects anybody materially?
No. I mean, nobody that would have not mattered anyway. Like, Admiral Schofield's not going to play 30 minutes, so I guess it affects him, but you weren't playing him anyway.
Okay. God damn, this slate. I was feeling real good about things.
So was I.
And this one, like McConnell's going to go nuts today, and I'm going to have like 1%. Do we think Bagley plays tonight? I don't have a read on that. I think that's like a coin flip, but
I basically just said it. So the only guy I'm getting from that game is De'Aaron Fox. I am not trying to guess that game on FanDuel. There are too many moving parts.
Somebody asked me if I'm playing Dedmon on YouTube. I wouldn't mind going to Dedmon a little bit here just because I do think he's the kind of guy that Milwaukee will be like, yeah, go ahead, shoot some threes, Dedmon. And Dedmon will shoot those threes. And if he hits them, who knows? PZ Min, thoughts on Giles? That's a no. We talked about him. I guess I talked about him more in the premium Slack with his knee issues, which I thought we all knew, but and you thought so too, but his knee issues are not great. And I have a friend, I mentioned this, I have a friend of a friend who is a Knicks team doctor, and his knees are not good. So I don't expect Giles to ever get into the mid-20s minutes. From what I heard, he just has no cartilage left in his knees.
Yeah. I mean, he missed his entire senior year of high school. Like this was news pre-Duke.
Yeah, and he barely played at Duke too for the same issues. So but I think what I heard was it was like even worse than people knew. So that's something where they just won't ever push him that much. So Giles, I don't see getting enough minutes with his price up to be worthwhile. He wasn't.
They didn't pick up his 4th year team option. That should be pretty telling because it's not exactly like it was huge.
Yeah, and that's like him being a pretty good player too. Like that was him being solid.
Yeah, nobody's ever like questioned his talent. He was the number 1 player in the nation coming out.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be more inclined to go Dedmon than Giles for sure. Let's see. Pelicans will start Ball, Redick, Hart, Ingram, Favors. Okay, nothing crazy there. Now I'm like freaking out. Is anybody else weird coming in? Are they going to start Jackson Hayes for some reason? Ugh, Christ.
I really didn't want to recrunch. I was like really happy where I was. And now I'm going to drop this in here and I'm going to get a stupid amount of TJ McConnell and I'm going to freak out. I might not change it. I might just leave it and let him die. And then he's going to go bonkers and I'm going to drink myself to sleep tonight. That's not true. I got to be at the airport early.
Oh, that's right. You're flying out. No?
Wife's flying out. I leave Wednesday.
Okay. Gotcha.
She's got to do actual work for like 5 days.
That's actual work seems like the not fun part that you want to be there for.
Dude, so this is the biggest healthcare conference in the United States for the calendar year. And it's in San Francisco. To rent a hotel room in anywhere in San Francisco at this time, it like anywhere you would want to stay, is like $1,400 a night.
Jesus.
You have to pay like $40 if you want to go charge your phone somewhere. Like they just this ruins San Francisco for a couple days. Like the whole city breaks.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Is this Dreamforce?
I don't know
Or
what
something
that is.
like no, that's a different. That's not healthcare. That's just straight sales. That's Salesforce's big conference, which also screws up the areas. But yeah, hotels have a real racket now. They've really figured out how to just hammer people to death with their algorithms. When
it's the 38th annual JP Morgan Healthcare Conference.
Well, as long as it's at a big anniversary, then it's fine.
Yeah,
it's worth the sacrifice. Jesus Christ! All right, anything good in Slack?
1,000 lineups. Export.
Bam or John Collins for cash on fantasy draft? What would you pick between those two?
What was the question?
Bam or John Collins on fantasy draft?
Oh, Bam.
Yeah, I would also go Bam. I have Collins projected pretty well tonight, but I think just in terms of cashiness, I would be more comfortable going to old Bam there. Got 2 minutes left to lock, so get it in. And also, we're about to draw the winner of the Super Cash right now. So if you haven't gotten in there yet, you have gotten your lineups in. Go to twitch.tv/awesemo_com. If you have a Super Draft account, just hit a exclamation point, Super Draft on twitch.tv/awesemo_com. You'll be entered to win that $500 in Super Cash, which will be given away in mere moments. So,
yes, it will.
Man, mere moments. That's a fun phrase.
I'm getting so much TJ McConnell now.
Also, how did JaMychal Green become 5K on DraftKings?
Is he really?
Yeah, because he had the big game last time out where George was hurt for part of it, and then they just didn't need Kawhi, I think, down the stretch. And yeah.
60, 40. Willing to go.
Anything weird popping up in your final run?
Whoa, that is a problem. Do I have that before? Can I even go back?
You're like Jack from Lost.
That's the first I've seen it. I might not be able to go to TJ McConnell right now.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I'm not going to TJ McConnell now.
Well, good news. I'm barely going to be on TJ McConnell as well. So
yeah, I had to back out of it. I'm going to have 0. I just need to hope that he doesn't go for 40.
I'll tell you what, I have a couple lineups with Josh Majette tonight from the Magic, and I will not have nearly enough.
How much time do we have?
Like
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Holiday. Okay.
Nothing
I
better
hot
than that
swap
last
all of my Aaron Holiday to TJ McConnell.
Though actually, you know what? The Indiana game's at 8.
I'm playing on FanDuel, my man.
Oh, that's right. God damn it. Oh, well, for me, the Indiana game's at 8. So, okay. Feeling good about that.
I'm comfortable with what I just did, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some McConnell when we get off the air here. I'm gonna get myself a little taste of TJ.
I'll be all right.
But also,
I'm not worried about
a
it
reason
too
too why your McConnell shares are probably more valuable on FanDuel today, because people will be doing like I'm doing.
I have way too much now, I think, but the alternative was having like 35% Draymond Green, and that was not a feasible outcome for me.
Look, I mean, talking about the things that you've talked about with just playing a guy who's cheap and has a good opportunity, I think that would fit the reasons why you would want more McConnell than Dre.
Now I don't even know who I actually have. It's craziness.
It's Bry already doing our tilting in the premium Slack right now. Wow, Portis sucks. He has 0. Is he even playing?
Great.
That's our
Great
premium
work.
Slack. If you are a person who likes to react to things very quickly as they are happening and express disappointment, or share a screenshot when you're in first place after playing everybody from the early game, our premium Slack is a spot. So use that promo code 2020 over at awesemo.com/join for 20 days for $20. Get yourself in the premium Slack. We'll do a quick round of daddy likes, but do you want to do the giveaway first?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I just want to see where I actually. Oh, this is 2 separate windows. That's going to be annoying.
Ooh, Jordan Mccray, chalky Jordan Mccray.
As he should be.
Yeah.
McConnell. I'm just trying to swap out everything. And really, is this really going to happen like it is? Okay, you go there.
Oh, Sabonis got scratched. It's a lot of people in the YouTube chat saying it. So apparently that is scratched Friday.
Wow. 33 seconds to go. God, I don't normally like him.
Well, good thing we didn't play Sabonis.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Aaron.
What a slate. It's always fun here, guys. This is why we should be here every day if you're not, because obviously we give advice and stuff, but also sometimes things just go to shit last minute and it becomes really confusing and we don't know what to do.
All right. Replace. Select. Replace all. Oh, nice. I forgot that I'm in 3 separate contests with 150 lineups each. So I quick replaced TJ McConnell into every Aaron Holiday lineup. And it came up 67 lineups replaced. And I was like, 33% Aaron Holiday? Like, that is not what I wanted to do. I didn't think about it that it's actually like 25. That works out really well to me. So final exposures that I can actually confirm now. 200, 200, 200. Perfect. 37% Ish Smith, 33% Lonzo Ball. I got the 15% TJ McConnell on FanDuel. Pretty flat at point guard. 83% Jordan Mccray, 80% LeBron, 40% Bam, 0% Draymond, which makes me feel so much better because when he showed up at 40% after that last crunch, I was not ready for it. 47% Bam or Bobby Portis. Do have a lot of Kyle Kuzma. I'm happy. Which again, I say this a lot. When I feel good about my lineups, they're usually terrible. So I want to flip the script. Knocking on wood here. I feel good, and it's going to be good. I'm waking up to good news tomorrow. Cannot wait. Let's give away $500 first.
Yeah, you got to take the secret. You have to visualize yourself doing better. While you pull that up, a question from Morgan Smith that came in down the stretch one. Can you play RJ and Peyton together on DK? Yeah, that's fine. I'd be less inclined to play like Knox and Portis necessarily, but in that same lineup, but you can play him.
We have 280 users signed up for the Super Draft giveaway. Are you ready?
Man, that's a good odds. Somebody get $500 tonight. You
guys,
a 1
in 280 shot at $500 in Super Cash. Woo!
Yeah, look, when we whore something to you guys pretty hard, it's not like for us usually. In fact, like some of these deals aren't like we're not getting more money out of it. We just want to give you guys something cool. So, if you can tell by the urgency that we give you good urgency, it's a good deal. So just take that more in advance because we should have had 1,000 on that.
And the winner of the $500 in Super Cash is Jade Tolbert. Nah, I'm just kidding. Had to.
That was. So you're gonna be getting boxed, Josh.
That's fine. I'll take the winner. All right, here we go. For real, the winner of $500 in Super Cash is. I clicked pick winner. It's thinking. Still thinking. Greg SJ is your winner. Greg SJ,
hey,
you have just won 500 smackaroonies in Super Cash. Please email support@awesemo.com to claim your scrizzle.
Yeah, Greg SJ's a regular on here, I feel like, on all of our videos. So good. I'm glad we got somebody. Obviously, we just kind of do it randomly. That's the whole point of it. But I'm always glad when we give somebody who's a regular here. So good job. Assuming you're the same Greg SJ.
Yes.
Good job by you, buddy.
Emac said, Josh, fight me. Emac, you don't want this smoke.
Somebody asked who's the beneficiary with Sabonis off the floor. I'm just
Miles
running,
Turner.
Yeah, it's got to be Miles Turner, though. He actually hasn't been that great per minute overall with Sabonis off. He's only still a 1 fantasy point per minute guy.
Goga Batadze.
I think Goga's down in the G League now.
I think he played like 2 days ago. You might also.
He
You could also be right. I don't know because it hasn't been. I mean, he played Wednesday. So
okay, so he was down maybe before that, then got called back up. But he was down for a game. I remember seeing that.
Greg
right.
SJ, email support@awesemo.com. It's the only way we can deal with this right now. So support@awesemo.com. Send an email in. 500 smackaroonies.
Somebody's fake Jade Roper account is out now. You guys, we're closing strong here on Friday. Quick round of daddy likes. Let's do it, Josh.
Let's do it.
We're not going to do the guessing game. We'll just do it. We'll do it. Brick wanted it the other way. Brick 75, one of our on the contrary guests, who's also a top 10 player in the world, much like our Alex Baker, requested we just do daddy likes instead of daddy guesses. So tough but fair from Brick. So Josh, tell me how Uncle Chubbs feels about Jordan Mccray at 39.3%. Where would you be?
I assume I would be well north. By the way, I have 4% Sabonis. We projected him for 20 on FanDuel. So off to a good start.
Sorry, FanDuel.
I'm thrilled. I wish they would have been playing more of them. Okay, so Jordan Mccray, 30-something, you said?
39.3.
He was my third highest ranked guy. I assume I would have been like 50 or 60. So I would be very, very happy. Oh, Greg SJ, if Greg SJ1 is the guy in YouTube chat right now, congrats, man.
Yeah, I think that's the dude I was thinking of. So good job, Greg. Yeah, Jordan Mccray, I am at 60%. I feel really good about that. I probably would have gone higher if we'd gotten the Beal news earlier, but I was already deuced. I'd already in process of lineups. But yeah, he's a great play today in a really good spot. So Jordan Mccray, if he bombs, don't tweet me. Trey Young, 32.3%. I'm above that. I like Trey a lot today. Thought he was going to be a little bit lower owned, but Trey at 32, how do you feel?
I would imagine I would have been under that number.
Here's one I'm under. Isaiah Thomas, 31.3.
He would have been my number one player of the day.
Just because the price was so cheap?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, fine. He's going to give you like 20, or not you. He's going to give the general you like 25 fantasy points today. And if he gives 40, I'll be mad. But in my mind is like he's going to give you 25. I'm just not going to be there. He's not quite Svi Mikhailiuk though. That much.
What was the number on him?
31.3.
Yeah, I assume I would have been north of that.
Even knowing that number going in?
Yeah.
And all right.
He was my highest target score per $1,000 guy.
All right, fair enough. Ish Smith, though, he's the next owned guy, and he is a steep drop to 13%, a rounded up 13%. Ooh. I would like having Ish a lot more than Isaiah today.
He was my 10th ranked guy on DK. I assume I would have been north of where the public was. Rules and stuff would have complicated things a little bit on DK, more so than I had to worry about on FanDuel.
Yeah, this game is starting up momentarily. Watch Ish Smith today because the guy's like just amazing to watch in games recently. He's been playing like a virtuoso with like dribble drives and then going in and going back out and making shots happen. And he just hits fadeaways over and over again. Like he could go back to bad Ish at any moment, but right now he's just playing really out of his mind. John Collins at 11%. I am above that, and I like that number. I feel like John Collins should have been higher owned. I get the prices up, but I think he's a good play. I assume you disagree.
Yeah, I have 7% on FanDuel. Let's see where I would have been on DK. John Collins was he was ranked dead last for me of everybody that made my player pool. That is number 64. I would have had, I hope, 0.
Man, I don't know that I don't ever usually give out my projections because I do kind of like play with them and tinker with them a little bit, but I had Collins at 47 points today, which would be okay at his price point. Wouldn't be great, but I think he's a decent value even with the elevated salary.
39.6.
All right, so here we go. So you guys remember this. Remember this, and if John Collins goes off, remember who told you, and if he doesn't go off, just pretend this never happened.
I hope you're wrong unless that's the winning lineup for me, at which point I hope you're right.
Troy Brown, 9%. I'll just burn through these. Kevin Huerter, 6.3%. I would want more than that. I think he's really good. Jan Mahinmi, 6%. Cam Reddish, 4%. DeAndre Hunter, 3.3%. Alex Len, 3.2%. That seems a little low. I mean, I didn't get there, but shit my money. It seemed that he thought he had some potential here. And Len, an intriguing play. The price is up on DK though. Davis Bertans 2.7%. Poshnick's over at 2.3%. Gary Payton 2.1. Isaac Bonga, the much discussed Isaac Bonga 1%. Admiral Schofield 0.8. Alan Crabb 0.6. Brandon Goodwin 0.23. DeAndre Bembry 0.14. Vince Carter 0.04. Bradley Beal 0.02%. You know what those 0.02% of people did, Josh?
They played themselves?
They did, in fact. They did. They played themselves. Yeah, you brat bastards. Go screw you Bradley Beal players, unless you watch the stream. Then we feel bad. But we appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like button before you go. This weekend, who is in? Is it you? Who's doing
Sal, I believe, is in on Saturday. And then buckle up for Sunday, people. Fast Eddie Fear and this guy live before lock.
Ooh. Nice Sunday stream. And Sunday, I get Lofty. So we all get a little live before lock in our lives on Sunday. I'm doing for the NFL. Josh will be doing for the NBA. But tune in. You get your Fast City Fear fix both Saturday and Sunday. Watch him. He'll do great things for you guys, regardless of whatever the news is going on. And also, of course, shout out to Super Draft. Giving away all that super cash today to our boy Greg SJ. But they're giving away a lot of money to you guys every day because if you sign up and use the promo code AWESEMO, get yourself $20 with a $100 deposit. And that is instant release money. You don't have to earn it back over time. Fast drip, get it right away with Super Draft. So go right now, use the promo code AWESEMO with a deposit to get that $20 free at superdraft.io or download them at the App Store and step into the future of DFS. My God, it's what a world we live in. Anything you want to say before we go?
Nope, I want to go eat dinner.
All right, thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. Tune in for the NFL content and NBA content going on all weekend long. And we wish you guys the best. So enjoy this Hawks-Wizards game. We'll see you guys again soon. Good luck.